We should be live. Yeah, excellent. I do realize that I put my water bottle and root beer a long way from me, so I'm going to have to grab them at some point. All right. Are we ready to start? All right.
My mic is muted, so that would be why I was not coming through. Which I'm really glad I caught it.
Yeah.
It's like my mouth is moving. Do I have it muted? Did it connect?
Yeah. Welcome to the show, Jack, for the first time.
Thank you.
Now that you have an unmuted microphone.
Glad to be here. We should be ready to roll, should we not?
Yeah, since we have a 3-hour show ahead of us, maybe 3.5, since we're adding an extra team.
Yeah, the one whole team of Stanford is really going to slow us down.
I think we can do Stanford in under 2 minutes.
No.
You don't think so?
I mean, to go through over-under alone is...
Will we do just that then?
No. I'll talk about the state of their program. I did some serious Stanford research.
Yeah, and that all I heard you say was, wow, this is bad.
That's the top of the show notes for Stanford. That's a little sneak peek.
A preview.
For our one viewer.
All right, JP, are you ready?
The viewer was us. So, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm ready, man.
All right, cool. I should be able to make it so that, like, we don't show up as viewers when we're pulling it up. I don't want to. Oh, speaking of, like, okay, not speaking of, but a couple things off the top of my head. Shout out our viewers because we just hit 100 subscribers on YouTube.
First second big milestone, I guess.
Yeah, the first one was 100 followers on TikTok. Now we got 100 subscribers on YouTube. That was super exciting. I posted a Kansas State TikTok, and 2 hours later, it had 6K views on TikTok. So that was kind of cool. It's going crazy on Instagram as well. So it's been a crazy week. The Big 12.
It's been fun, yeah.
It's been putting out a lot of stuff out there for people. So it's been awesome. But we are good to go ahead and get started with the AC. Or actually, let's start the podcast.
Well, also, I think YouTube has shadow banned me. So just for all my numerous fans, if it doesn't seem like I'm reaching out in the comments, YouTube doesn't let me
You've never
comment.
reached out in the comments until yesterday.
Yeah,
and
it
then
didn't
you tried
it
and
didn't
it
let me
wouldn't let you.
comment. So
It did let you comment a couple times.
yeah, let
it
me
was
comment
just
horns down on the guy.
it was the one place you couldn't comment.
Yeah, and it was the one place I really wanted to comment.
Yeah.
So
All right. Let's start the
man,
podcast.
It hurts. It hurts. It hurts. It hurts.
Yep, we look good. All right, I'm gonna start it. Go ahead.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Technical Fowl podcast. I'm one of your co-hosts, Jack Anderson, flanked by my two friends, JP Pusilowski, Clemson Tiger fan. He's repping hard today for the Tigers. And then to the left, Sanders Oakley, who has a Mississippi State shirt on, which
As
is
I
pretty
always do.
fitting for him.
Yeah.
Big State fan.
I
But
don't-
boys,
It would be hard to find a show where I wasn't wearing something Mississippi State related.
sure.
I don't know what I would. Actually, I may not have on Wednesday. What days? Yeah, on Wednesday. But I
Sure.
normally do. JP, I see your shirt. Have you seen the notes I have for Clemson?
No, not at all.
Okay. I think it's gonna be an interesting conversation. I'm curious. I can't wait to talk about them. They're the most interesting team in the ACC to talk
I
about.
would disagree.
I disagree, too.
Really?
I can't wait to talk about.
But then
If
again,
you say Stanford again,
Well, I can't wait to talk about Cal, to be honest.
The problem that we've had, though, and this may have been a deeper problem for more than a year now, is our definitions of words are completely different. So interesting may be a completely different definition for you than it does for me. So
I think he's going to broach a pretty interesting conversation, but
yeah,
we'll get there.
I guess so. As far as like 2020, oh wow, that was loud. As far as 2025 goes, I
Hey, careful,
feel
I'm going to have to turn you down over here.
Yeah.
I have all the power.
you're welcome to turn me
No,
down. I do
you're
feel
good.
if I get too loud, you're welcome to turn me down or turn everyone else up, and we can all be loud together. As far as 2025 goes, maybe not the most interesting, but I think the team and the program is interesting. So that's what I want to talk about.
again, I don't know what interesting means for you, so we'll see what that.
Yeah, all right,
ends up
that's
being.
fair. That's fair. Let's start because
Well,
we're already,
no. We
don't-
can't start yet.
but we're already 2 minutes in. We can't.
I haven't
waste
asked
time.
y'all how y'all's weekends were yet, though.
Oh,
that's pretty
true.
crucial.
That's true.
A little wellness check. How was yours, Sanders? Like I didn't spend half of it with you, but how was your weekend?
Okay. Actually, I kind of forgot that So yesterday I played frisbee, and then my parents are moving my sister in to get ready for college, so I helped with that for a little bit, and then I played video games with one of our friends, Jackson, and then the three of us were in Discord, and Jackson left, and then me and you hung out for Discord for like 6 hours, something like that.
We did a lot of podcast prep yesterday.
We did a lot of podcast prep yesterday,
and we played this game called Wordplay, which is like a word find game, but it's like a roguelike word find game. It's a blast. I fully recommend playing it. We played some of that too. But anyway,
I found out we do a lot better doing podcast prep on Discord than we do together in person. Because when we're together in person, we just like put on a movie.
That's fair. I will say I was just like dialed in yesterday.
You were.
So like at some point the prep has to get done, and in my mind that was when it was going to happen.
Yeah.
So, JP, how was your weekend?
Good. Wedding, which was fun. Moved into.
Whose wedding?
Well, I don't want to dox them live on air.
My bad. Do we know them?
Abby's freshman roommate.
Oh yeah.
We're there. That works perfectly.
And then moved into my new apartment, but I haven't really moved in because I haven't moved in a ton of stuff. But
Filmed a fire TikTok.
Yes, and then prepped a bunch of other stuff. I've got another Shador video. I'm gonna do the deeper dive over more plays, and then I'll have that. And I'm gonna do that for the other rookie quarterbacks as well. So while y'all were doing that prep, I was doing that.
Huge.
All right, so how many, when you say the other rookie quarterbacks, you talking like half a dozen guys?
JJ, Jackson,
JJ McCarthy. You're throwing him with the rookie.
He essentially is a rookie.
Throwing him with the rookies.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That's fair. That's fair.
And then
is that
nothing really to break down from what?
Could he win Rookie of the Year? Because I know in the NBA.
No.
Okay, so in the NBA it's different, where guys who miss their first season to injury can.
I don't know. I don't know the ruling on all that. I hate it regardless because Donovan Mitchell should have won it instead of Ben Simmons, but
because it was Chet and Wemby.
Yes.
And Chet was his second year technically.
Correct.
Okay, but in the NFL he can't.
I would assume no because he's not on the Rookie of the Year.
Okay.
Odds. So
he definitely would
no.
be. Yeah, but to say he would be if he could, just because of what he has available.
Sleeper fantasy pick. I'll go ahead and I'll throw y'all a bone.
JJ?
On that one. Yes.
I have him in a keeper league.
I mean, I said he has one of the easiest jobs in the NFL.
At where he's going, he's a sleeper. And
Where
then
is
I
he?
watched.
Okay. So should I keep him? Actually, my keeper league is all kinds of messed up.
Do your own research.
Yeah.
That was the other thing I was doing as well, is figuring out how in the world I'm going to draft from the 1.07.
The duck race kind of screwed you.
In a 10-team league.
You got a bad duck.
And evidently I'm in the worst possible spot. So having to figure that out.
Are you trying to trade out of it?
Yes, I am trying to do that actively right now. Trying to grasp the idea that I have to select Christian McCaffrey in the first round.
You don't have to.
I have to.
Okay.
Otherwise, the draft just goes. I have no running backs if I don't.
You could draft a different running back there. Sanders, R.J. Harvey is kind of, talk
R.J.
to
Harvey
Sanders.
for 7th. No, maybe Devon Achane or Ashton Genty, but the value just isn't quite there.
Fair enough.
And
but
then
you're a Raiders guy. I feel like you have to take Genty. I mean, you're a Raiders guy.
I'm a Geno Smith guy.
But Genty will just benefit from being a part of that backfield.
I mean, I saw Geno Smith flip off a couple
No,
of
Geno
fans.
will benefit from Genty.
Fair.
And yes, that is also true. Then the last thing I watched, Stompin, unfortunately, lose in the grand finals of the Esports World Cup after beating 3 straight Brazilian teams, which it would be like, I don't know, you just think I guess, let's say Bryce Underwood came to Mississippi State, or, I don't know, let's say he came to Florida, or even you could even say with DJ Lagbo. Let's say Bryce Underwood because was viewed that highly. Imagine him then beating Nick Saban, Alabama, Kirby Smart, Georgia, and Steve Sarkisian, Texas, all in the same year.
I'm not sure if
to reach the college football playoff and reach the national championship, and then lose to Tennessee.
Oof.
That's tough.
Was he just that? Did he not play well? Or was his team?
He played excellent. His team didn't play well in that one series, and it really, unfortunately, was the reason that they lost. But they literally beat the world champions, the best team in the world, and then the best team possibly ever, given their last season results, en route to losing to a team that they had already beaten twice
Damn.
that season.
That's tough.
They just had a bad series.
Do you think he'll change teams?
No. People are overreacting to that.
Okay,
There was one bad series, and
Yep.
one bad game
gotcha.
from his teammates. So
Actually-
people are overreacting. But he was
He was great.
better than great. It was excellent. He was in. There's one.
He pitched
clutch.
a perfect game almost.
There was one clutch, which I pull up. It kind of culminates exactly how he played. We'll pull that up after if I remember. But he was insane. He
Okay.
was for his first. This is his first competitive tournament. 18 years old, and he's playing against some of the best players in the world, and he was the best player of the entire tournament. It was insane. So I watched that.
Real
But it
quick.
was sad to see him lose.
Every Wednesday we talk about Summer I Turned Pretty, but then don't talk about it because we're watching that. Can we get a quick Summer I Turned Pretty check? How are we all feeling? We've all been watching.
Sure.
Sure. I can go first. Past couple episodes have been pretty mid in my opinion. For the episodes to be over an hour long, not enough has happened to warrant that in my opinion. But I was talking about this yesterday with you, I believe. I was like, just with how many people are watching and like when you go on social media, all the talk about it, it's almost impossible for the show to live up to the anticipation week to week, just because of like how in the culture it is and how much it builds. So I wasn't the biggest fan, but I think we're about to get to the point where this season kind of takes off and big events start domino falling and stuff. I know you enjoyed this past episode.
Yeah, I think it's hard for it to do that when you've gotten to this point in the story where all the characters are away from each other. What
Yeah.
makes
Very fair.
season 1 so great is that everyone's there and cousins.
Yeah.
There's so much interaction between all of the characters. You see
Oh yeah, season 1, one of my favorites.
you see Susanna and Jeremiah, and then you see Susanna and Conrad, but then you
Yeah.
see Susanna and Laurel, and that mixes again with all the other characters. With the places that these characters in, where it's literally just Jeremiah, Conrad, and Belly in the same place, you don't see that mixing
Very good point.
and matching. So I don't think you get to see the level of depth. But it just hit hard for me.
Sure.
It was a good episode because the things that Conrad was experiencing there on camera, I completely understand and have been there entirely before. It sucks. And to see that like played out was really cool to see. But like we said, and we agreed, like with the way they ended episode 4, with him saying a line in his head,
Yeah.
it set the stage for episode 5 to. Episode 5 needs to be really good, and I agree, it wasn't as good as it should have been.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm interested to see if they'll continue on with Conrad voices in his head. We'll see. Also, like, gosh, with the budget they have, getting the songs that they have,
The music's
Yeah.
unreal.
It's
Episode
incredible.
After
it has to
episode.
be like the
That's-
most expensive part of their budget.
it feels that way, but it's been the best part of the show. That was the best part of episode 5, which is like, holy crud, that is like the perfect song
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
culminate what this specific moment in time is.
And it's not like they even went and found like niche songs. It's like the perfect
Sure.
song, and it's like a Billboard like top
Yeah.
10.
It's Harry Styles.
Yeah.
It's Fleetwood
Olivia
Mac.
Rodrigo. Yeah,
It's,
it's like stuff. It's just insane.
No, it's a great point.
The Linger cover by
Oh,
the
very
dude, I
good.
forgot what his name was, but it was just incredible. And that was in a 3-scene
Back-to-back,
sequence.
yeah.
It was
It
that was a great part of that episode, but yeah, it was rough. But I did like other things, like having the parallel of Conrad and Belly from season 1, watching fireworks, Jeremiah in the background, Jeremiah,
Oh, yeah.
Belly, Conrad in the background, doing stuff like that. That was really good.
So about the flavor profile of the dark chocolate, the bitterness of the
That was
Cacao
that's the most
contrasts
The cacao is
perfectly
the
with
most
the-
important part of the cake or
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
That's fair.
There-
I
I was gonna say there's so many times where the characters say lines like that, and you're like, dude, that was the stupidest line I've ever heard in my entire life. And then you have to realize, like, these are some of the most immature characters we've ever seen in a television show ever, because it's real.
Yeah, they stay on brand for sure. And I love the point about them all being together, because if you think about, like, even probably the best scene from this season is at the restaurant
Yeah.
when they're all together.
100%.
The chemistry is pretty
Fantastic.
good. So I think as they all come together for this wedding, and they're all together, I think it'll pick up. That's a great point. We've dominated talking. Do you want to throw in your 2 cents? Or
No, I threw in a couple pieces, but also like I said, I haven't seen I've seen the last 2 episodes of season 2 and then season 3. It's
You
very
have to
good.
go back and watch season 1.
It's drawn me in. I probably will at some point. Right now, I'm just gonna.
Skip the rest of season 2 though.
All right.
Yeah, don't watch season 2.
I mean, I probably will end up watching it because I have nothing else to do. I'll put it on while I'm doing work. But
A good background show.
Yeah.
Season 2 is good for the background.
so, yeah, it's been really good. I'm ready for episodes 5, 6, 6 on Wednesday.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
3
cool.
more. Cool.
Good talk.
With that-
for the sports.
Yeah, we can get into why we gathered today, which is an ACC preview. And I may have mentioned at the end of the last show that we would mix up how we're going to do it this time, and that is not going to be the case. We're just going to roll through every team again, and there's 17 teams this time instead of 16.
We are kind of we aren't doing 25 minutes on the quarterbacks. That's kind of mixing it up.
Yeah, it's not really mixing it up. That's a minor cut.
I think just given the way the videos have done it, we'd
we'd
it
be
would
stupid
a
not to.
disservice to ourselves.
I
to
100%
not.
agree, and I'm dialed. I'm ready to run it again. So, with that being said, shall we get into it, boys?
Let's
All
let's
17
get
ACC
started
teams.
on 17 ACC teams. I honestly, we are the people most hurt by conference realignment because back when the ACC was 12, 14 teams, we would have been fine.
Yeah,
When the Big 12 was
We-
12 teams,
we are the victims here.
yeah, we are the victims, and I'll not stand for it. I will be protesting.
I know you don't want to do a quarterback run through, but I would like JP to talk us through kind of the odds and what stands out to him as Clemson being the favorite, other good value picks down the line, just anything sticks out to you.
Well, I think
overall.
right off the bat, Georgia Tech is amazing value for
Okay,
plus
yeah.
1,300. Given that the way that their season has gone last year, kind of some disappointing results, but like you look back on it, there were games that they should have won. No doubt about that. Like they start that season with the Ireland Classic and winning it off the game-winning field goal. And they're like, oh, okay, Georgia Tech is really a team. But if you fast forward really far down the road, it's like, oh, they beat FSU. That's not really that much of a statement. But the 8 overtime Classic loss to Georgia is huge in that, and that has no hold on how the ACC standings go. But I think they're going to come into the season with a ton of confidence. I think they're going to win opening night at Colorado. But plus 1,300, I think, is amazing value because they very easily could have the best quarterback in the conference this season from a statistical playing standpoint. Cade is not guaranteed to play really, really good, even with the receivers that he has, and considering how the draft is looking for him right now, and that's coming from a guy wearing purple and orange right now.
Yeah.
I think Georgia Tech right off the bat plus 1,300 is great value. The other thing with the ACC, it's crazy that even in a conference as big as the ACC, the transfers is just so many. We have, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 quarterbacks transferring to a new team just this year, and then you have 4 other quarterbacks who have transferred in the past. So you're going to see a lot of new faces. A lot of these are familiar names, though. Robbie Ashford from South Carolina, Devin Brown from Ohio State, Gio Lopez is going to become a name, I think. And maybe if there's an outsider pick, maybe like you throw like $10 on North Carolina plus 4,400 and cash it out later in the season. Given their schedule, I think their schedule is extremely easy. And if they were to upset Clemson, which they will host Clemson, they're in a spot where they could be in the ACC title game. I don't think they're ever going to win it, but there's some value there for cash out value.
Okay, fair enough. It's you and Sanders have very different outlooks on North Carolina, which we'll dive into that more when we talk about them specifically. But I don't know, it's just kind of funny to me. It is a heavy transfer class, you're right. Even another name you didn't necessarily toss out, but like Chandler Morris being at UVA after being at TCU the year they went to the title game because he started the year and then got hurt. So a lot of big-time names from other Power 4 programs kind of still trying to find homes. And we'll get into all of them as we go down the list.
Do we want to go down the list?
Let's do it.
Boston College is our first team up.
Yeah, so Boston College went 7-6 last year. A solid year from them. Bit of an interesting year quarterback-wise, which we'll get into. Thomas Castellanos started most of the year before getting benched by Grayson James towards the end of the season, and Castellanos is gone now. Their head coach is Bill O'Brien, and currently their win total for this year is sitting at 5.5. So right off rip, I mentioned Thomas Castellanos. They lost him in the portal. He goes to FSU. He's been in the news a lot, talking about how he's going to beat Alabama week 1, how he's that guy, all this. But he got benched towards the end of last season, replaced by Grayson James. So do y'all really feel like losing Castellanos is a huge hit to this program? Do you think they'll be fine, kind of relative to their expectations? What are y'all's thoughts on how their quarterback is sitting right now?
I'm going to pull up his stats through when he was benched, because I do think that's kind of, if it's, and I don't know how much it happens. It depends on the situation of the benching. Was it a season where he was playing decent and then had 2 bad weeks and they're like, all right, let's try something else out? Or was it 8 weeks of bad play and they're like, all right, let's bring in a new guy?
Yeah, I do know he got benched mid-game,
okay.
And Grayson James led the team to a victory. I wish I could remember which game that was now.
Syracuse?
Yes, I believe that's correct. And at that point, it was Grayson James's job. I do wonder if Castellanos' kind of fiery personality kind of played into that at all. If he lost the locker room a little bit. That's purely speculation. I have no idea. But it's pretty clear he's got a very strong personality from how he's talking in the media this offseason.
Yeah, I don't want to touch too much on him because I don't think he's going to have much of an impact on how Boston College looks this season, because he clearly didn't have that much of an impact last season. He really becomes the name because we go through the shocker that Florida State lost to Georgia Tech week 1 or week 0, and then you come in to week 1 and Boston College upsets Florida State and Castellanos puts on a show. And then all of a sudden, because he has that like dual threat capability, the tag is put on him. This guy's good. The rest of the season did not play out that way, which is why he was benched and why I don't think he has much of an impact on BC and the Golden Eagles this year. Grayson James to play the second half of the Syracuse game and then 3 games from there, to have 1,200 yards, 6 touchdowns, 2 interceptions is not bad numbers whatsoever. So he has a chance this season. I think the schedule, especially at the beginning of the year, is tough. Traveling that far, even to Michigan State from Boston, and then all the way out to Stanford this year is going to, I think, play a hard one for them. They also have to play Notre Dame this year, which they did not play last year. But they're going to be in some big spots. You host Notre Dame, you host Georgia Tech, and you host Clemson. And Boston College
and SMU
is a fun place. It's a fun environment. I've watched Tiger games at Boston College that were primetime games, and I think they'll have a good chance for that as well this year. I'll be interested to see when they play their bandana game, whenever they announce that. But I don't think Castellanos holds the impact on this team that I think a lot of the general public probably believes.
Yeah, I think it's a thing of like he went to FSU, right? And that's a storied football program. So it immediately becomes, oh, if he went to FSU, he must be like this great quarterback. He must be a good get. But once again, look, Grayson James' stats, pretty good for the limited time he played. Grayson James picked up 3 ACC wins. In all of his time as a starter, Castellanos won 1, and it was the Florida State game. And we all know Florida State was not good at all last year. Not saying, Grayson James wouldn't beat Clemson or anything, but I think that alone right there shows you a lot. A couple other key players you can look out for, unless you want to.
No, I was just going to say, it kind of reminds me of what, high school recruiting profiles are accused, 24/7 accused of doing, is if a guy commits to Georgia, he jumps 200 spots in the recruiting rankings.
Sure.
And people are like, this just doesn't make sense. It's the same thing with Castellanos, where it's he goes to Florida State, and everyone assumes, oh my gosh, they had Jordan Travis, they were 13-0 2 years ago, they're not going to bring in a bad quarterback, so he must be really good. But we don't know. He could be good. We don't know.
Yeah, and we'll talk about him even more when we get back to Florida State and how he looks to fit there. But a couple other key players, if you're turning on a Boston College game, guys to look out for, either star players or players that they need to play well for their success. Jude Bowery and Logan Taylor are their 2 returning pieces of the O-line that are going to be key. They're going to have to build around those guys. Lewis Bond is a wide receiver you can look for on the outside. He had a couple TDs last year and around 700 receiving yards. And then defensively, KP Price on the back end is a really good safety. He had 51 solo tackles last year and a couple picks. And then Davion Crouch is a good linebacker for them. He had 77 tackles, 2 sacks, 2 forced fumbles last year. So just a couple players. One thing I would like for them to improve on this year, as opposed to last year, they were 125th in red zone conversion rate last year. They scored on 70% of their red zone trips.
Yeah, I missed out. Like, you showed me that stat, and I was like, wow, 70%, that feels like really high. And then you pointed out that that's scoring. So, like,
Yeah,
it's not just touchdown. It's if you got in the red zone, did you come out with points? And I was like, oh, okay, no, that's definitely a lot worse.
Sure. Yeah, so they would need to improve on that, which if the quarterback play improves with a full season of Grayson James, you could expect that to improve. And then the last thing I want to point out, they're starting one transfer, which in this day and age, and especially in the ACC, is pretty small, so there's a lot of continuity there. With that being said, shall we pick their over-under?
I want to make one more point.
Sure.
Screw Bill O'Brien, dirtbag. I also just have no trust in him in building a program whatsoever.
Fair.
With the way he dismantled the Houston Texans, trading D-Hop for a bag of chips. And that shows what their recruiting rankings the past 4 seasons. Super uncompetitive. So screw Bill O'Brien. That's my final point.
I mean, they finished in the bottom. Well, they finished bottom 3 in the recruiting rankings every year for the past 3 years. 16th in the last transfer cycle. It's just not great, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, my guess is they're not giving out very competitive offers, but I can't also imagine people are in love with the idea of playing for Bill O'Brien. So
Who would be?
Yeah,
Not me.
JP, can
It's
you,
a good point.
as our QB guru among the 3 of us, you want to talk about? Tucker asked, "Is there a worse coach QB fit than Castellanos and Bill O'Brien?"
Bill O'Brien doesn't necessarily fit with much of any quarterbacks, but it's a great point. Bill O'Brien's known for pocket passers. He New England coordinator for a time with Tom Brady, and to have a dual threat like Castellanos is not really a good fit whatsoever.
Yeah.
Grayson James might be a better fit for them. And going into their win total, it's 5.5 this year. I think a large part of that number is dropped because Castellanos left. So my pick would be for them to go over. I don't see them going 5-7. I think they've got a chance to get to 6-6. So I would take the over on the win total personally.
I also would take the over. I
Yeah.
agree with 6-6.
I think that's where I'm leaning, just looking at that schedule. It also, the back end, their home and aways sets up kind of nice because they start out with Fordham, then they go on the road twice, and they get a bye week. And then they've got only 2 more road games after that, and then they finish the season at home or on a bye for 5 straight weeks. So the schedule, the opponents are tough. They've got Georgia Tech, Notre Dame, SMU, but the timing works out well as far as homes and bye weeks. So
Sure.
that part of the schedule does shape up for them well, but I think they can get to 6 wins just with some of the easier opponents on that schedule, and then some of the home games they can maybe sneak out a win.
Is that schedule right? How do they only get 3 ACC road games?
I can double check. Maybe I've left off an app.
Yeah, check that real quick just so we can make sure we're right. But yeah, I think 6-6 is very doable. They're pretty consistent mid in the ACC over these past couple years, and I don't expect that to really change. But I do love your Bill O'Brien hate, JP. That's a good point.
Appreciate it.
The schedule has them at Stanford, at Pitt. They finish at Syracuse. My
Okay.
apologies. There's one more road game at the end of the season.
Heard.
Cool.
So disregard.
Doesn't change my pick, but
Yeah, it does not change my pick. It does change my point. I take back my point. Psych. All right.
shall we move on?
Next up, California.
Just make sure the dirtbag comment gets in the TikTok. It doesn't have to. I'm joking, but
Cal went 6-7 last year under head coach Justin Wilcox, and they've experienced a ton of turnover from last year's team. They're projected to start around 15 transfers, which is a ton. I think the first point I want to get to is looking at the guys they lost. They lost guys like Jaden Ott, Fernando Mendoza. He's going to Indiana to be their quarterback probably. So they're losing some key pieces offensively. But the offense actually wasn't really that great last year due to injuries and a very, very ineffective O-line. I think they put up like 24 points per game.
Ineffective, you said?
Yes, ineffective. They struggled to really get the job done despite the names they had and kind of the fame they got from beating Auburn week 2. I feel like they kind of became a fan favorite last year, and that kind of fizzled down the stretch. They lost a ton of close games.
I think the hot-to-go parody of Jaden Ott also helped.
Oh, I love that. I mean, that was goated. He did get hurt a lot, and that didn't help. But the O-line was really bad. They were top 5 in sacks allowed and tackles for loss given up last year, and so that's really going to have to improve this year. And then at quarterback, they're bringing in Ohio State transfer Devin Brown, who was a top 50 prospect in the class of 2022, but has just always been a part of a loaded QB room, and so has never won the job there and is finally transferring out to find another place to play, and he'll start here. Any thoughts on him? I know there's not really much to go on. He's not really played a ton at Ohio State, but
I think he'll be fine. He's got the talent there. There really hasn't been. Has there really been a miss that you can really kind of key point out of a Ohio State quarterback that's either been there and transferred or been there all throughout?
Sure.
You can think of all the big names, especially the transfers. Quinn Ewers, Joe Burrow, two that come to mind. Not that Devin Brown's going to be that, but even Kyle McCord was really good for Syracuse last year. So it's not like he's bad. So I expect him to play well this year for Cal, and I think that'll help them this season as they try to build off what was actually a good year
for
last
them,
year.
for sure.
For them, for sure. Cal is historically, at least in our age, in our generation, has not been good.
Gone are the days of Aaron Rodgers and Marshawn Lynch.
Yeah, they've been far removed from that for the better part of a decade. And with the way they started last season to win at the Plains, like Jack said, yeah, they became a big kind of marquee name, and then you lose at Florida State. But they kind of got screwed out of the Miami game, which is a game they really should have won. And then to lose by 1 point, 2 points, and then 1 point in 3 straight weeks hurts a ton. And then they lost to Sanders' UNLV team in the LA Bowl hosted by Gronk. But I expect Devin to play well this year for them. They'll have a big game to open the season at Oregon State that kind of really can set the tone for them this year. And then to get to avoid teams like Clemson and Miami this year, I think can help them a ton, even avoiding a Georgia Tech. They have a chance to be in a spot maybe down the stretch where you're an 8-win football team. It just really kind of depends on how they play with 15 transfers that are starting for them this year, which is 15 out of the 22 guys that start on a football team. So
it's a vast number.
We were prepping for the show, and me and Jack were both like, we feel like every team is like just the same like copy and paste like narrative of this team could be good if the transfers work out, and they could be bad if the transfers don't. And that's kind of every team. Yeah, and I will say that like I think that the ACC averages just over 8 transfers per team. But I think that's kind of pulled down by teams like Clemson and Boston College. We didn't see any of those Big 12, so no Big 12 teams started only 1 transfer. So that average would definitely be up closer to the Big 12 if not for those two teams in Clemson and Boston College.
Sure.
So it's kind of just a narrative for every team is if the transfers work out, and it's more so for California just because they're starting the most in the ACC at 15.
Yeah, it's just teams like this, they're going to lose any of their good players or most of their good players to the portal. And so the only solution is to turn around and replace them.
Yep.
They look to do so with guys like Mark Hamper, who's a wide receiver from Idaho, who put up about 1,000 yards receiving and 6 TDs last year and averaged 20.1 yards per catch. So a deep threat on the outside there for them. They're bringing in a running back tandem with Brandon High from UTSA and Kendrick Raphael from NC State. They combined for 800 yards at their respective schools in 2024. So they're going to look to control the backfield. Then 2 returners to look out for on the defensive side of the ball are Cade Uluave, who had 71 tackles last year, and then Ryan McCullough, who played linebacker there as well and had 19 tackles and 3.5 sacks for them. One guy I want to shout out was on the team last year. Tron Grizzle is up there. You know, he'd probably make a first-team all-name team. Yeah, in college football, but he's returning. He had like 600 yards for them.
Did Idaho have a good offense last year? Because I think this is the second Idaho wide receiver we've seen transfer up to P4.
They must have.
I think there was a Big 12 guy.
But yeah, I shouted out some skill position guys, but it really, once again, is going to come down to if that offensive line can improve. So we'll see about that. Their over-under is sitting at 5.5.
Yep.
Thoughts on that, boys?
I would pick under. They play 6 road games, which for any team to play 6 road games, 6 home games, that's going to be a stretch. A team the quality of Cal isn't going to win every game at home. I don't care who you're playing. So I would favor the under here. Unfortunately, coming off a big season where you beat Auburn and are in competitive games against Miami. But I got the under.
I also have the under here. I've mentioned so many times the O-line was bad last year, and in research I didn't see anything that convinced me that the offensive line was going to get any better. So,
Yeah, I'm also going under. Their schedule, I mean, it starts off at Oregon. Oregon State was not good last year, right? Washington State won that conference.
yeah, they won the Pac-2.
Then you got Texas Southern, Minnesota. It's just, I don't really see any spot on that schedule. Maybe Virginia Tech and Virginia back-to-back. The schedule is just not great. And then Stanford at the end of the season on the road at Stanford and then at SMU to finish it. It's just, I'm going to have to go under as well.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they'll be the worst team in this conference, but I don't see a bowl game happening for them this year.
Nope.
On to the big dogs of the conference, the Clemson Tigers.
Should we let JP start this off? I feel like this is his.
I mean, we can. I was going to let you start it off because you wrote all this stuff down, but JP,
no,
go ahead.
JP's more familiar with the team. Take it away.
No, I think I'd rather respond to what you're going to say, to be honest. But if you'd like me to start, I can. Clemson comes into a season where the expectations are to win a championship this year. That's both in-house and even in the national media. They are a dark horse pick from national media members this year, given the quality of roster that they have on paper with Cade Klubnik in his final season as a starter at Clemson. He's had an up-and-down career, but he's had a lot of bright moments. The wide receiver room is really something that sticks out with guys like Antonio Williams, and then the young guys in TJ Moore and Bryant Wesco, who are really, really good. Defensively, it's another stereotypical Clemson defense with premier defensive linemen and TJ Parker and Peter Woods. And then there's some guys in the back that can help, like Avion Darrell, who's got a chance to go really high on draft boards. Those are three guys that are in the top 12 of PFF big boards. Then Cade Klubnik is also top 5 as well. So Clemson, on paper, has the roster to compete to win a national championship, and that is the expectation. They're going to be more than likely my pick to win a national championship. Last season, it starts off terribly with just an embarrassing effort against Georgia, 34-3. Carson Beck led Georgia, I might add, as well. But they rattled off a ton of wins from there. They're in a primetime game against future Saints starting quarterback Tyler Shuck. And you embarrass yourself on national TV as Louisville upsets Clemson 33-21. And then at the end of the season, you're in a big game against future Saints starting quarterback Lenore Sellers. And unfortunately, you let Lenore do what he will do for the rest of his life, which is win big games by having big moments. And you lose kind of a shocker and an upset as well to South Carolina 17-14. And then the roller coaster goes back the other way as the emotions are swung the other way for Tigers fans with the ACC championship that was a classic.
Yeah.
I screamed as we kicked the game-winning field goal from the shower. They weren't in the shower. I was in the shower when that happened.
Yeah,
but
I figured.
We win against SMU and Kevin Jennings, make the playoff as a 12 seed, go to Texas, and then Cade plays realistically his best game of the entire year against Texas in a game they didn't necessarily ever had a chance in, but they looked really, really good in. So I think Clemson the expectations are not only high for the people in-house, which they always are, which I think Sanders is going to get into, but they're also high in the national media, and so you get a ton of pressure on Dabo. I do want to say, though, that it's a huge swing year, potentially. A lot of people have talked of, the dynasty is over, and you have to lower your expectations now, and Dabo's not a good coach when he's won two national titles. Name another coach that can say that that's coaching football right now outside of Kirby Smart. You can't.
Yeah, name a guy other than the guy that's done it. You can't.
Yeah, exactly. But it's a potential huge swing year for Clemson to really kind of leap forward as they try to continue dominance, and then try to continue dominance potentially in the recruiting, especially in the ACC, but in a large part in recruiting in general. It feels like for a lot of people that the SEC is in the near future, given the way the sport is going right now. And I think the biggest thing for Tiger fans is we want to, when we join the SEC, if that were to happen, we want to be among the elite. And we feel like we should be, given the location for recruiting, given the head coach, given the caliber of players that we can develop and we have developed throughout the Dabo tenure. But again, we'll have embarrassing efforts. We'll have losses to Duke, return the ball over a ton against Riley Leonard. The loss last year to Louisville is inexplicable. The loss at the beginning of the year to Georgia shows maybe there is a way bigger gap. And even in the Texas game, it was not really competitive at really any point. So that I think that's where the fear is, and I think that is, for me at least, before Sanders even makes his point, that is why fans are upset, because we feel like we should be in that top 5 programs in the country.
Yeah.
And we aren't.
Yeah, that's fair. That's my hotter take, and we can get to that in a minute. Let's start just talking about Clemson and the upcoming season. A couple of my questions is, playing in the ACC, what is their strength of schedule isn't going to matter a lot, but if it becomes relevant, if they drop 2 games somehow, what is the ACC like? What does their strength of schedule look like? Last year, the ACC averaged 3.8 top 25 teams a week, which was the lowest of the Power 4. I'll be interested to see how that plays out. And then, so let's start with, you already referenced it, but does Dabo need a really good season? Does Dabo need a final semifinals or a playoff appearance to kind of get Clemson back up to that upper tier? Their recruiting classes over the past 4 years have been very good, but one inside the top 10. They finished 10th in 2022, and then 11th, and 26th in 2025. But that's not great. Their transfer portal class was not great either. Last year, they were 17th out of 17th in the ACC, and then their top 25 finishes over the past 4 years have been 14th, 13th, 20th, and 14th. So no top 10 finishes. Clemson is still a very good program. They're still probably the best program in the ACC right now. But does Dabo need a really good season this year with the talent he has on the roster to kind of get them back into one of the top programs in the country?
Well,
and you kind of mentioned that, but that was I just wanted to lay out some of the recent rankings and recruiting classes to kind of give some more.
The transfer one is doesn't apply to the argument at all because they don't bring in transfers.
No, I agree.
But
The reason I bring up the transfer is because if you see a low high school recruiting class, you could say, well, was the transfer class good, and that's why no high schoolers came.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say that wasn't the case.
Now we have brought in some transfers this year for the first time in Clemson history, but making the playoff is a must. Like that is
Right.
that would be like, in order for you to go make your pizza for dinner tonight, you had to have gotten out of bed this morning. Like, you have to do that. There is no reason to not be in the playoff this year unless Cade were to get hurt. That is literally the only reason. And even with that, the talent is there that you're good enough to go and win the ACC, and winning the ACC will put you in the playoff. So on top of that, winning the ACC becomes like, that is something you have to do. I don't think they need to have an elite season to reestablish Clemson as a contender necessarily. I think you just want to have that juice back in the program. You want to have them being seen on the national stage more. You want them to have wins over marquee programs, and you're going to get the opportunity to do that with the first game of the season on national television. College Game Day is going there, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know if they've announced it yet.
I don't know.
But
I don't think they've been.
I know
announced.
Chris Fowler and Herb Street are calling that game. And to beat LSU, who is in their right a potential national title contender, even though they really shouldn't be, that is a huge marquee win. That, I think, is what matters more this season, is to win games like that. And the only chances you're going to get to do that is by winning that game against LSU and then winning the cap against South Carolina and then making the playoff. And maybe you get to host an SEC team, or you get that first-round bye, hopefully, instead of a Boise State this year. and you can beat one of those games there. I think making the semifinal does a lot for Dabo and that program and the future of the Clemson Tigers, but I don't think that's necessary. I think going 2-0 against the ACC I think that would be what you could say, okay, Clemson is back.
Yeah.
And these are against not bad ACC teams. These are against
Top half, top quarter.
top half, top quarter, yeah. South Carolina probably won't finish that way record-wise.
Yeah.
They might finish top half. But these are hot programs, good quarterbacks, two potential future Saint quarterbacks.
A lot
as
of
well.
eyes will be on those games regardless.
But, yes, these are going to be national televised games. Those games matter a ton. I think that's more important than making the playoff or winning the ACC has to be the given. But on top of that, I think winning those two games matters way more. 10-2 ACC champ, losing those two games, bad season.
Losing the two SEC games?
Yep.
That's fair.
It would be viewed that way.
it just gives everyone they just beat the bad ACC.
It's the same way it was viewed last year. While it was what I tried to convince a guy like Duncan, a Clemson Tiger fan, is like, because he's calling for Dabo's job.
Yeah.
Outright. Well, how did we look pre-Dabo? Terrible.
Yeah.
I'm going to get into that. I have that
atrocious. So
Yeah.
that is not something you can do.
Yeah.
But I understand his feeling, and I think in large part that feeling is because the Georgia game, the Texas game were uncompetitive. The Georgia game you're never in, unlike the previous Georgia game. The Texas game you're kind of in for a second.
No one really believes
that
it,
is
though.
what is pushing this forward.
Sure.
And it doesn't help that on top of that you have embarrassing losses like Louisville. So I think that is in large part the reason for that feeling.
Yeah.
It's idiotic though.
Yeah.
It's stupid.
I would love this run of success personally as an
Yeah.
A&M fan. It kind of feels like the Clemson fan base as a whole, just in general, is like going through an identity crisis of like who their team is. And so a very successful season where they make the semifinals, they beat the SEC teams would just go a long way, I think, to calming those nerves.
Yeah.
So
The thing I don't get is I personally don't understand. Now, with the talent y'all currently have, national championship is like a possibility. But I don't understand the expectation that your program deserves to be a top 5 program. I personally don't get that just because it's not like y'all are in Alabama or in Notre Dame or in Ohio State or in Michigan who have had like success over decades. Y'all did have one national championship, but there are a lot of teams who had one national championship.
And we're not saying that historically. I think it's
The new
we
era.
want to be a top 5 program right now.
Well, there's a difference between I want to be a top 5 program right now, but there's a difference between wanting to be and then being like we deserve to be one. I just
you
don't
think they deserve to be.
I don't.
lay out your argument.
Yeah, so I don't
Well-
get where the basis of like we should be a top 5 program, because there's a lot of programs out there that have had a lot of success over longer periods of time, and you look at where Clemson is right now. Like they were not good until Dabo got there. Dabo comes in. Previous to him, they went 6-7, 9-5, 7-6, just like average to slightly below average seasons. And then you go on kind of a generational run of quarterback. All right, you go from Taj Boyd to Deshaun Watson to Trevor Lawrence. Those 3 guys are top 3 in Clemson history in passing touchdowns and passing yards. And then from 2015 to 2019, with Watson and Lawrence, they were elite. They won 2 national championships. They racked up as many 11-win seasons as Clemson had in the previous 90 years combined. And then Dabo's taken them to double-digit wins in 13 of the last 14 seasons, almost double the 7 that you'd seen before then. I just don't get. So that has been very good, but it's also been kind of not out of nowhere, because we can see it started with Dabo, but it's not like there are other teams that have been winning 10, 12 games, championships for decades. That's where I don't get we deserve to be a top 5 program, because you're still just, I think you experienced top 3 like quarterback play for 8 years.
And we made the playoff with Kelly Bryant and Cade Klubnik. So those are not premier quarterbacks. We were number 1 seed with Kelly Bryant too, I might add.
I think it's just a thing of like it's a long enough run of success under Dabo, and Dabo's still here. And with the way the landscape has changed so much since Dabo's got there. This like new era of college football.
We're not making the argument that we're a top 5 program ever.
Yeah.
That's not what I'm saying at all. A top 5 program right now, because the same thing could be said about Georgia. They are not a top 5 program ever.
Right.
They're a top 5 program right now, if not
Yeah.
the best program right now.
And that's what matters the most, realistically.
True.
That is what we care about. Who cares? I don't care how teams performed in the 80s, the 90s, and the
Yeah.
early 2000s. We
Nebraska
care
top 5
about
program.
and we care about being a top 5 program right now. And what is your argument that we're not even a top 5 program? We don't deserve to even be in that argument right now.
His argument's the headline right there.
Yeah, I just don't get. Yeah, my argument is, why aren't Clemson fans happy? Why are y'all unhappy with winning double-digit games in 13 of the last 14 seasons?
I want to say I'm not unhappy.
Yeah, that is fair. And I love Duncan. I know Duncan is unhappy, and this is where
I'm in the minority big time in that. And that is even in Clemson fans that I know personally. I'm in the minority on that. It is because they got used to that success of Taj Boyd, Deshaun Watson, Trevor Lawrence. That became the standard for them for God knows what reason. And then now anything below that is the roof is burning down. We're all going to crap. It's over. And the problem is what below that has been is winning the ACC still, making the playoff last year. You know, it's stuff like that. So why are they not happy? It's because they got used to that, and for whatever reason they think that is what we should be held to as a standard. And the truth is that is insane.
yeah,
Even for any program, you're going to have down years. Alabama just had a down year, and you could say the same thing about Bama fans. They're calling for DeBoer's job.
I think that's a different situation with new head coach. Like,
I understand that. The same argument was made a ton with Brian Kelly and Notre Dame throughout his tenure there. Jim Harbaugh was literally about to be fired.
He restructured his contract to take less money.
Exactly. Comes back, makes the playoff 3 years in a row. So we're just in that stage right now. I hope we're in that stage where it's like, okay, we're just like having not necessarily elite seasons. And now I think this is where this season becomes okay, you have a really, really good chance to change that because there are marquee games all down the schedule. Hosting LSU, that's a must-win for me.
yeah,
I think that's inarguable that you have to win that game. I think you could go 1-11. It's a terrible take, but you could go 1-11. But the buzz from winning that game would mean more than going 11-1.
That's a little bit of a hot
take.
take.
It would hold that much in Tiger fans' hearts the week after winning that game.
Yeah.
So why aren't Clemson fans happy is because they're a little bit delusional.
Greed.
I mean, it kind of goes back to our constant argument about your expectations for state fans, and this is a situation where I agree with you that Clemson's expectations are too high, which is potentially contradicting myself because I have higher expectations than JP does as a state fan, but we'll get into that later. Me and JP will discuss that off air and figure that out. We've been arguing about expectations for 3 months, something like that.
Longer.
Much longer.
Yeah.
5 now, probably.
It's been
Pre-March Madness.
Yeah,
So,
true.
Yeah, longer than 5 months.
Yeah, exactly.
Clemson. Clemson fans are unhappy because they've raised their expectations after what I would say, it was the 5-year stretch of 2 championships with Trevor Lawrence and Deshaun Watson that I think really raised the expectations. It hasn't been the whole Dabo era. It wasn't the Taj Boyd era. It was those 2 championships in 3 years. Clemson fans got a taste of being a top 5 program over those 3 years, and now they want to always be up there. So that's what it changed.
Sure, but I also think even pre-Deshaun Watson, the same things were felt with wins over Urban Meyer, Ohio State, and Braxton Miller, in a bowl game, and then beating Georgia at home with the Sammy Watkins, Taj Boyd year as well. I don't think it was just those 5 years. Those 5 years didn't help, but it was the fact that like we build, win, and then we're seeing a slight drop. And now, for whatever reason, that drop, the perception of it is massive. It's a massive drop.
It's almost like a drug addiction, where when you take drugs, you need more of that to
Build
feel the
the
same
tolerance.
way. Yeah, and so Clemson fans have built a tolerance to winning and success and championships.
ACC titles don't do it anymore.
Exactly,
For 'em.
they've won
They
eight
need
of the
stronger
last.
stuff.
They've won 8 of the last 10 ACC championships, and they're over here going, not enough. I need to up the dosage, up the dosage. It's crazy.
That being said,
Their schedule. I was going to talk about their schedule because I've highlighted. It's a tough schedule in my opinion.
yeah, but we're winning the SEC and we're making the playoff. We'll go ahead and lock that in. I'll say right now, they're my national title pick, and that's
Okay.
not only being a Tiger fan. I think
I've
the
not made mine
pieces
yet.
are there,
But they're in the contention for mine.
and they're going to be. I think what helps, like you said, a tough schedule, they're going to get tested, and that is something that has always kind of been a worry playing an ACC schedule is, are you going to get tested? And because of that, if you're not tested, are you going to lay an egg, a la Kelly Bryant against Alabama, a la, any of the last year's playoff appearance, you could even say that as well. This year, I think getting tested is going to help them a ton. Hosting LSU, that's a playoff game immediately, right off the bat. At Georgia Tech, which is a game I will be at, I can confirm that,
Massive.
is a big game as well. It's a noon kickoff, so it's not a night game. At North Carolina is the biggest game of Bill Belichick's first season. So that's a huge test. SMU rematch ACC championship. Darian Minsa and Duke could be something this year. Florida State is always a big game, and there's a chance that team turns around. I think the at Louisville game is the biggest game for me on the schedule.
Because the revenge game, too.
It's a huge revenge game. It's not necessarily an easy place to play, and to be able to look at that and have that on your schedule as you go through the entire season will help them a ton. I think it keeps them motivated, that game and the South Carolina game.
Yeah.
And it keeps your head up so you don't slip up and have a disaster against Duke or SMU or Florida State. So I think those are, for me, the two biggest games late in the season is at Louisville and at South Carolina. But the talent is there.
Furman, that's an in-state rivalry, right? Furman's in South Carolina.
Yes.
Don't forget about them.
That'll be our purple out game. I think the biggest thing is, can we get to a point in the season where we get to wear the orange breeches? I think that matters a ton. And once we get to there, I think because we've been tested, wearing the orange breeches will matter a ton. That's a tradition at Clemson. Whenever we're playing for a championship, we wear our orange pants finally for the first time that season.
Gotcha.
So it's a huge deal in the Dabo culture. But the talent is there. Receivers should be really good. Cade is hopefully has an excellent season. I hope we get a much better defensive effort, bringing in Penn State's defensive coordinator, Al Golden.
Yeah.
So I expect big things from Clemson this year. And the schedule, I think, helps them a ton.
Yeah. The talent is insane. Me and Jack were looking at this last night. All the guys that are on the big board for this year, there's like 6 in the top 100, I think, or 6 in the top 6 in the top 100. But then even next year, with all the sophomores they have, me and Jack were trying to find a reputable 2027 big board. And we found a big board. I would not call it reputable. There was definitely some scuff stuff on there. But there were a lot of Clemson guys in the top 100.
I believe they had Malachi Nelson in the top 200.
There was some scuff, some odd finds. It was like digging for gold though. We found some cool guys. But
Yeah.
the sophomores on this roster are also just incredible. And then I think one of the big questions is the true freshmen.
Yeah, they're looking to start a true freshman running back in Gideon Davidson, which, read into it however much you want. The rumblings out of camp is that he's really impressed and that they're going to be in a better spot there than people think. But they are just camp rumors, so who really knows? I'm not too terribly worried about it. Even if it takes a small step back from Phil Maffa, I think he'd be just fine. But if you wanted to find something on the team to be like, this could be an issue, I'd look at Gideon Davidson. I don't know who else is in that room, but he is one guy that's looking to start.
Yeah, that was the huge thing down the stretch of the season that kind of held Clemson back was the fact that
Moffitt was hurt, right?
Moffitt was hurt, had a hurt shoulder, and a running back having a hurt shoulder, you're not going to want to do anything. You can't run anybody over because every time you have contact, it's going to hurt like crap. So that would kind of hurt him and hurt the team down the stretch of the season. And then Jay Haynes tore his ACL, so he's not even a guarantee to come back and play this year and play valuable spots or valuable snaps, I should say, for the Tigers. So Gideon is going to be the lead back. And then I expect the backup is going to be Adam Randall, who is a wide receiver who is switched over to play running back. And he played basically starting running back for them in the Texas game and actually had a good showing. So he's kind of the backup. But Gideon has to be good because all the great Clemson teams have had dominant running backs. Think of Wayne Gallman, Travis Etienne, and then even back to C.J. Spiller days. Like Clemson has always had great running backs to go along with their great receiver and great quarterback, and he should benefit a ton from these great receivers. But they need him because if you can't run, you can't set up the play action.
Yeah.
It becomes a lot easier to defend the pass, which we've seen here at Mississippi State, even in the air raid days. Like, if we're not able to run the ball in a game, it becomes a lot harder for a quarterback to pick a defense apart when they can drop 7 guys in coverage. So even as good as Cade is, they're going to need Gideon to be good this year for Clemson to be good and great offensively.
Yeah, I think it's very fair. We've gone way over time here, which I knew we would because of Sanders' argument, so I was fine.
I wouldn't
Thanks,
even call
Sanders.
it was a question, not an
Yeah,
argument.
Sanders' question.
Thank you.
So I knew he had his question. I was fine to extend the Clemson segment a little bit, but the win total's at 9.5.
Real quick, JP, do you understand my Clemson being interesting now? I thought it was going to be an interesting conversation. Does the word choice of interesting make more sense now?
I don't think it applies.
All right. We just have different usage of the word interesting, I guess.
Sure.
Win total.
I'm taking the over 9.5. This team is one of the most talented Clemson teams in years, combined with some experience. Even the younger guys played a lot of snaps last year, so they got their feet wet. I feel pretty confident taking the over at 9.5.
I don't know if I would say confident just because it is a tough schedule and it will challenge you, and there's always a possibility that when you're challenged, you do lose 3 games. But I am also going to take the over.
Dang, what a hater. We're 11-1 regular season. Lock it in. I think the team is that good. I think the coaching will be that good. I think that's a huge part of it. Game management is going to be a huge thing. I'll mention last part is like a huge thing for the season is game management. We've been at a ton of spots where Dabo has just not managed the clock well or managed timeouts well. And that's what makes the great teams great. And that's why I deserve a job on a lot of football teams is because time management is it's not a strong suit for a lot of guys because they don't play enough video games, so they don't know how to manage the clock. But that's going to be a huge thing, especially in these big games. But 11-1, I think, would be my guess and my prediction on it. I don't think there's really no game they should have a ton of trouble with. I expect them to be favored in every single game this year.
Agreed.
And I believe they even are. Like South Carolina looks like a tough game right now. But at that point in the season, South Carolina is going to be 7-4, 6-5. Just with how tough their schedule is, which we'll get into a week from today. But they are favored in all these games, and I think they'll handle business this year. I just don't see the patented Clemson slip up on this schedule, which there are.
That's what makes it a slip up, though.
I don't see it with this team, though. I think the experience at quarterback will keep that from happening. I really expect Cade to play well this year. He's kind of leaped his way surprisingly out of nowhere into really heavy quarterback consideration for the draft. and knowing him and hearing his story for the last 3 years and seeing him grow as a quarterback and finally getting the start against North Carolina in the ACC championship game and winning us the ACC title because DJ was not playing well, and then to have a good year or not a great year the next year, turnover troubles, fumbles troubles, kind of bounces back a little bit better last year, especially playing well down the stretch. I think he's going to take this bull by the horns, and I think he'll play really well this year.
Sure.
So I would take the over 9.5, and in fact, I've already bet that. I haven't bet the win total, but I have bet the ACC title and the national title for the Clemson Tigers.
I mean, in my eyes, it's like even if you have your slip up, there's room for that and still hit the over.
I just
total.
don't see
The over at
I don't
9.5.
see 4 losses, which is the only way I see betting under 9.5. There's just not 4 losses on that schedule. And to pick 4 losses, you kind of have to see 5 losses, if that kind of makes sense.
Because stuff has to start spiraling.
Something has to spiral. You could lose at South Carolina. Yeah, you could lose at LSU. But in those realities, are you also going to lose at Georgia Tech, at North Carolina? I don't think so.
Sure.
I don't expect them to lose in Death Valley this year, just given how good that home field advantage is. So I think 9.5 is almost kind of a disrespectful win total, personally.
It's one of the ones I probably feel more confident about in the ACC. Anyway, congrats on your 25-minute segment,
Yeah.
Clemson. We can move on.
I think I'm breathing into the mic through my nose.
Yep.
Someone is. I think it's me. JP, me and Jack have not proposed. In our dreams, the T3 bracketology, how he watches every basketball team play once or twice. Me and Jack wish that we could do that for the football. Watch every football team play once, every FBS football team.
We could pull it off.
It would be tough,
It's
especially
doable.
for me because I have to work every state home game.
Are you saying?
I mean,
I was thought you were saying is us 3 individually at least have seen everybody play this year.
Yeah,
That's what I thought you were saying.
that's what I was saying. But it would be hard for me to.
Then I think we could pull it off.
It would be y'all might be able to, but I can't watch games while
Watch the entire game live.
Yeah,
you can't watch a no huddle where it shows every play.
Oh, I
just
mean, I
cuts
guess I could
out
watch the replay of it.
space.
You
I could
watch
watch the
2 at
replay.
once.
I could watch the replay. I was just
I
saying,
think 2 at once would count.
I was assuming watching live,
Yeah.
watch them play
In
live,
person.
not in person.
Yeah, we're
136 stadiums in 14 weeks.
I would love to do that. That would, if time, that's just another one of those things. If time didn't exist, to be able to do that would be sick.
I feel
Yeah.
I just feel like as people who are talking about college football, we should watch every game. But I don't know that we'll be able to make that happen. Let's keep moving. Duke is up next.
It is Duke. Year 2 under Manny Diaz. They had a very good year last year. Unsurprisingly, as Manny Diaz is a good defensive coach, their defense was great last year. Was good at forcing turnovers. The offense under Malik Murphy was not great, and he is now gone. But they went 9-4 last year, and they bring in Darian Minsaw, the quarterback. Don't know why it says wide receiver. That was on me. But the quarterback from Tulane, who had a very good season last year, he comes in to take over. Thoughts on Darian Minsaw off rip?
Talented, very talented, fun watch. I think he's I don't remember what year he is. Junior?
He's young. I think he may be a sophomore.
If he's a sophomore, then he would be someone I'm looking at for next year's draft. Next year's draft, I guess I would say, not this coming year's draft. But he is very, very talented. He's a super fun watch. It kind of sucks that he leaves Tulane. I think he would have a better chance to make the playoff at
Agreed.
Tulane. But he'll immediately be thrown into the fire as he plays week 3 at Tulane. That'll be marquee watch right there. Even who would have thought a Duke at Tulane game is a kind of a must-watch game for the season, but it has quickly became that with Darian Minsaw transferring from the Green Wave. But he's really, really talented. He's a fun watch, and I look forward to watching him more this season. He's one of those quarterbacks I want to see a lot more of to kind of get a full grasp on how talented he truly is.
Sure. Yeah, I think he'll play well. I think he's a step up from Malik Murphy, personally. The bigger question for me is Duke doesn't really have the best weapons. The wide receiver room is not very talented. I have highlighted a guy, Andrell Anthony, who's transferring in for Oklahoma, who only had one catch last year, but in between his time at Michigan and previous years at Oklahoma has been more productive, has shown some talent. So maybe he kind of gets going again here. Regardless, this team just shines on defense, especially in the secondary. It's funny they had Mike Elko before Manny Diaz, who is a secondaries coach. Manny Diaz comes in and kind of just keeps the train rolling. The defensive back duo of Chandler Rivers at corner and Terry Moore at safety it's fun to watch. They patrol the area very well. They lead the secondary very well. They combined for 75 solo tackles last year and 7 picks. Chandler Rivers had an 89.8 PFF coverage grade, and Terry Moore had an 89.2 PFF coverage grade. Sanders, is that good?
That is good. That is very good.
Yeah, it's pretty great. And they're both back. It'll be fun to watch. I'm excited for it. And then Jaden Francois is kind of this gadget guy they're bringing in from Utah State to help out in the secondary. Or at linebacker, had 51 tackles and a pick last season there. So if you're going to watch this team, it's how does Darian Mensah look at quarterback and lead the offense? And even if it's things like he's pretty good this year, what does it look like next year? Can we keep him in-house? Can we keep building? And then can the defense just continue to be really good? So one thing I do want to point out, 129th last year in third down conversion rate at 28.6, which is downright awful. So if there's one thing Darian Mensah can figure out how to do and help this team is just up that conversion rate. So
yeah, I think you touched on it there. That's the biggest fear right now is this just a stepping block for Darian Mensah?
Yeah.
Let's move it to Power 4, and really the two bad conferences of Power 4 before we can move into the Power 2. That is the ACC and the Big Ten. Duke had a very interesting season. They start off really hot 5-0 against not necessarily great competition, and then they lost kind of an inexplicable game to SMU.
So frustrating.
Where SMU turned the ball over 6 times. Duke turned it over 0 times, and they lose 28-27 in overtime. They come back and follow that up the next week with a embarrassing show against Miami and Cam Ward. Given how good Manny Diaz is defensively in his return to Miami. But Darian Mensah transferring is a big fear this year. How can you keep him happy and keep him in-house? And I think how that's going to happen is they're going to have to win big games. You've got Week 9 at bye. That's a tough opponent. I don't know why someone put at bye. I just thought that was funny that one of y'all put that there.
It was me. I did all the schedules.
At bye.
Hey, a road game, a road off week is really hard. You have to leave your facilities and just go away.
That's good.
But at Tulane that's a huge game for Mensah. Then to have to travel out west, we saw how difficult that was for a lot of teams playing at California last year. Playing in Death Valley is not easy. UConn won't be easy given their basketball success. But at North Carolina, it's a huge game. It quickly becomes one of the best rivalries in college basketball, becomes something in college football with the addition of Bill Belichick. And that is not a game you want to lose if you're Manny Diaz and the Duke Blue Devils. So that is going to be huge for them. And winning those kind of games, I think, is huge in terms of keeping Mensah in-house. Because now, if you can build off a season like that, you can bring in these transfers and try and build something for next year. I think their fear is we don't want it to go like how Riley Leonard went, where he plays really good, has these marquee moments, but we weren't quite good enough to say, okay, we're going to bring in guys.
Yeah.
So Leonard leaves, and now he's playing in a national title game. Duke doesn't want that to happen.
No.
They want to be a premier program because they have the capability to do that. Given their success as a collegiate basketball program, the money is there, and they want to have success year-round, not just in November through March.
And I think they learned from their Riley Leonard mistake. Time will tell next offseason. But the rumors about how coveted Mensah was at Tulane and how much they had to pay to get him to leave shows me that they're pretty serious about competing and trying to keep him in-house for 2 years.
And last year was a fantastic step. I mean, they finished 9-4. They should have been ranked. I think they were the first P4 team to finish with 9 or more wins and not be ranked in 10 years. It was in a long time. Way too should have been ranked. They have the 5th best recruiting class in the ACC, so they're bringing some high school talent. I do think that they're setting up next year, like you said, to bring in some transfers. If they can keep Mensah in the building, Mensah.
I'm going with Mensah.
If they keep Mensah in the building next year, they could be setting up to try and build something long-term success as opposed to just something short-term.
I will say in terms of them deserving to be ranked, I think they beat I don't know if they beat a team that had more than 6 or 7 wins. So
that is fair, but
I get the precedent you're talking about.
Yeah, it was a very long precedent.
But they did a good job beating the weaker teams on their schedule. Can we get to Duke's over-under?
Yes, over-under is 6.5.
Yeah, I'll start it off. I'm going to take the over here. I don't necessarily expect them to hit 9 wins again, but 7 or 8 seems totally doable to me. Like I've already said, I think Mensah is an upgrade at QB, and their defense should continue to be good under Manny Diaz, so I got the over.
I will also be taking the over.
I wouldn't bet the under, but I'm going to take the under because the odds I would assume are terrible on it. But like I said earlier, 6 road games and 7 if you include at bye. That's not easy for any program or any team, and I think it has the potential for them to stumble up throughout this year. And then even their home games aren't at Georgia Tech is not necessarily going to be a win. I expect NC State to be a little bit better than they were last year. So I would not bet under 6.5, but I'm going to take them to go under.
Okay.
Cool.
I'm glad we have some parity on our over-unders finally.
I think that's the first one where we have had different picks.
It is.
Florida State.
The Seminoles had a disastrous 2024. There's no other way to put it.
It was putting it lightly, honestly.
Yeah, it was one of the worst seasons of all time relative to our favorite word, expectations.
Yeah.
Just downright awful. Everything pinballed. People got hurt. They couldn't move the ball. Their defense was just okay. I mean, it was just ugly all around. It was just, I know we've already talked about it on the show, but oh, wow, Georgia Tech picks up this huge win. And it's oh, wait, Boston College also beat them. Maybe this team really isn't that good. And there was oh, crap, Memphis beat them. This team is in trouble. And then they eke out a win against Cal, and then they lose 6 straight before beating Charleston, which is Charleston. And then they close out the season with a loss to Florida. They didn't win an ACC game. They did because Cal's an ACC team now, not Pac-12. Good save. But, yeah, they win one ACC game a year after just missing the playoffs with really high hopes. Not a good look, and it becomes a complete roster overhaul for them. They're looking to start about 13 transfers. And then they also bring in 2 new coordinators. Gus Malzahn is going to be their offensive coordinator now, and Tony White from Nebraska is going to be their defensive coordinator. So just a complete overhaul. They're trying again, starting from scratch. The head man leading it off, he's been big in the news this offseason, is Tommy Castellanos from Boston College. Ended up getting benched there last year towards the end of the season, but as Tucker's already talked about in the chat, the fit was pretty bad. He's a dual-threat quarterback. Boston College didn't let him do that this past year. He had 200 rushing yards in 2024. If you look back at 2023, he had 1,100 rushing yards. Gus Malzahn likes a good rushing quarterback that he can use to, manipulate the run game, create numbers advantages and stuff like that. So I do think the fit is better here for Thomas Castellanos. Do you all agree with that?
Yeah, 100%. I think he'll play very well. He's already clearly playing with a ton of confidence. And
that
to
is not
speak
lacking.
With that amount of confidence in camp, I think shows that he's given the keys that he wanted to the car that he wanted, not only literally, but also figuratively on the football field. I assume he got a sick ride for now being a Seminole with the NIL money, but he is now being given the keys to the offense, and I think he'll play well under that. Then again, that goes back to what is your definition of well? Just above average. I don't expect this guy to be top 5 in the quarterbacks in the ACC this year, and that's kind of a hot take, kind of not though. If you really look at the ACC quarterbacks in general, with Cade Klubnik, Carson Beck. You have Miller Moss, who we'll get into here in a little bit. Haynes King, Kevin Jennings. You have Darian Mensah. Like, you can't really say he's necessarily better than
Did you
any
say
of
Carson
those.
Beck?
I said Carson
Okay.
Beck, yeah. So I don't think that's necessarily a hot take, but
It's not. He's a lot better than what they had last year.
he is 100% better than DJ Uyongulele and Luke Cromenwork, who is a future Bulldog legend.
Was that a joke about his name, or did you mispronounce it?
Mispronounce what?
Croman Hook?
Yes, I just mispronounced.
Okay, I didn't know if there was like a joke. I didn't know if I missed a joke.
Is
I
it
mean,
not
I have no
Croman-
idea how to pronounce his
Is
name.
it not Cromenwork?
No, it's Croman Hook. I
Okay,
believe.
whatever,
I don't
man.
think there's a W in there.
Future Bulldog backup to Kamario Taylor, Luke Croman Hook.
I think that's right.
I think he'll transfer.
He is
Before being
better
the
than those two, I would say, on paper at least so far. And they'll be put straight in the national media, in the national conversation, hosting Alabama. And that's a game they can win. That's 100% a game they can win.
I cannot wait for that game.
With Ty
man.
Simpson
It's gonna be
more than
electric.
likely going to be the starting quarterback. It really becomes a huge program battle. It's a huge game for Mike Norvell. Last year they brought in 17 transfers, and this year they brought in 13. So they're kind of rolling the dice again on the transfer wheel. If you remember 2 years
brought
ago,
in or are starting?
last year they brought in 17. I assume they started nearly just as many, and no different. They are rolling the dice again on the transfer wheel. 2 years ago they did that, and it was a overwhelming success, and they were 12-0. Now they're going to be in that same spot again here, rolling the dice again, and they're hoping that it lands on black instead of red this time. But we'll see how the roulette wheel spins
Sure.
for Mike Norvell.
He needs it to work in his favor. He's going to be feeling the heat.
The buyout will be pretty comfortable.
Fair.
Given his contract. So I don't know if that's necessarily a worry. But maybe for his future employment it could be. But then week 2, big game against East Texas A&M. Is that team good, Jack? Okay.
No, former Texas A&M Commerce. They've changed their
yeah.
name.
Those guys.
Yeah, I don't think that's much of an issue there. I believe that may be an FCS game.
I would assume it is.
I think it is. It
so-
is. I'm fairly certain. I do not think they are in a
Yeah,
G5
yeah,
conference. And then
definitely.
they go from there to Kent State, a former FCS game.
Well, Kent State plays like an FCS team currently. So
Yeah, we can label that an FCS game
yeah.
with an asterisk.
They do have to play 2 SEC opponents this year. Week 1 against Bama, and then they finish the season at Florida,
Yep.
and we expect Florida to be improved. So those are both tough tests. But yeah, it really is going to come down to how their transfers play, and I just want to highlight a couple more. Deuce Robinson is a wide receiver coming in from USC. He had 396 receiving yards last year and 5 touchdowns. A name Florida State fans will be familiar with is Johnny Wilson. It's kind of similar body type, similar play style, just big, tall, lanky guy.
Johnny or Jeremiah?
Johnny.
He's
Oh.
talking about a completely different player.
Oh, I was reading the notes. My bad. And you
Eagles legend, Super Bowl champ,
said my bad.
Johnny Wilson.
Yeah, no,
you
you're
said
good.
there's Jeremiah Wilson is next up on the list, and I was like,
Yeah, no,
Continue.
different guy. He's Johnny Wilson's a former Florida
Okay,
State
cool,
wide receiver
cool.
from a couple years ago. Sanders still my thunder, but another huge. I think this is a massive pickup in the portal. Jeremiah Wilson, cornerback from Houston, was one of Houston's bright spots last year. Had 16 solo tackles and 4 picks, and then an 86.9 PFF coverage grade, which is very good. I know Sanders loves to see that. I think will help their secondary out a lot. But yeah, it's really going to come down to how their transfers do, how the new coordinators do, and Mike Norvell really, really needs to right this ship. Any other thoughts, or shall I roll into?
Well, given the dumpster fire that was last season, they are not in a bad spot as a program.
No.
And we'll see that and from their win total here in a second. But recruiting is still there. And transfer portal class is still really good. While it did not help them last year, I think it has shown at least that going to the transfer portal, you can find success more often than not.
yeah,
And I don't think it's a bad thing to continue to go to that, which I expect Norvell to continue to do that year after year.
Yeah.
I want to say, like, if they beat Bama, my goodness, they're going to be talked about hugely for a month because the next big game they play is at Miami, and that's not until week 6.
Is it home against Miami?
And they host Carson Beck in Miami. So this is a program that very, very quickly becomes a topic of conversation immediately, beating Bama, if you can do that at home. And they have every opportunity to do that and really springboard their season. Winning that game, it almost feels like, okay, well, now they should not lose a single game besides maybe Clemson and at Florida.
Yeah.
That could be a playoff bid at 10-2 with a win over Bama. So that becomes a huge, huge game for this program. Otherwise, they're kind of forced into having to win at Clemson or at Florida. That game holds more impact than I think people really realize. I think people are seeing it as it holds impact on Alabama. I don't think it holds as much as it does on Florida State.
That's
for me.
Yeah. Going back to their win total at 7.5, I expect them to hit the over there. I don't really see playoffs or anything. I don't see a complete 180 after their last season 180. But the roster's really talented, and I think they made some good additions in the portal, and I like their coordinator hires. So I can see 8 or 9 wins.
Yeah, I'm also going to take the over. And like JP was just saying, if you're going to build your roster through the transfer portal and through bringing new guys, like they're doing it the right way. They had the second best transfer portal in the ACC. Their high school classes the past 3 years have been second, fourth, and third. So a very talented team. Norvell has shown that he can take a talented team to success. They went 13-0 2 years ago. I think I'm gonna call last year the outlier. Like you said, I don't know if playoff is in the picture this year, but I think 8 wins at least is in the picture.
I'm going to take the over, and they're a dark horse to make the playoff, I think, for me. Because I think they got a good chance to win that Bama game.
I can't wait for that one, man.
It's going to be exciting.
Be
I hope they do. All right, Georgia Tech.
Yeah,
next up.
Moving on to the Yellow Jackets, who went 7-6 last year under head coach Brent Key, which I feel like has kind of been where around they've sat the past couple years. Just kind of a little bit above 500, make a bowl game, nothing else. I do think they have a chance to make some more noise this year. Starting quarterback Haynes King is returning. He threw for 1,900 yards last year and ran for 563, 22 total touchdowns. Only 1 interception, which is fantastic. He also played through a shoulder injury for down the back half of last year. So if that's healed up, I think his passing numbers will improve. There literally was a point last year where on obvious passing downs, they brought in another quarterback because his shoulder was so jacked up. He's a guy people are really high on. I'm really high on him. JP has already referenced him as a top 5 quarterback in the ACC. I think that's accurate. The duo of him and then at running back Jamal Haynes, who had 942 scrimmage yards and 11 total touchdowns last year, that is the foundation and the key of their offense. They use them and their offensive line to lean on teams, win the time possession battle, take the ball out of the hands of some of these other more high-powered teams in the conference and win games that way. And they're going to look to do that again this year. What do y'all think about that duo?
I expect them to be dynamic. Haynes King, I'll speak on again. Man, he is a dog. And I think in college football, you can see quarterbacks that play like him just tend to have way more success. Even if the talent isn't necessarily there, they are super successful because they will literally put their lives on the line to win football games. Think of Max Duggan is a great example of that. Like, that dude he did not care. He'd run through anyone. He would give up walking the next day to win that football game.
Sam Ellinger, I know Jack probably doesn't want to hear it, but I feel like he also maybe fits that mold.
That feels a little disrespectful to Haynes King and Max Duggan. But Haynes,
You're not, yeah.
I think is elite at that. And his numbers aren't necessarily great. 1,900 passing yards and 500 rushing yards isn't great. But the big thing for him last season, he was not putting the ball in harm's way. The interceptions were down, and him and Jamal Haynes should really be a duo. Losing Eric Singleton to Georgia sucks for them, especially their offense. And 7-6, you look at that and you thought, oh, their season was a lot better than that. And they lost a few games in that season where it really just didn't make a lot of sense. Losing at Syracuse after 2 big wins in a row, losing at Louisville. You're not really competitive in the game against Notre Dame in Georgia, which was in Mercedes-Benz. And then losing at Virginia Tech was not easy. And then the last thing people remember is the 8 overtime classic, losing at Georgia, but they also lost to Vanderbilt in the bowl game in a game where Haynes King started. So the season was not great given how people really felt about them, and people are really high on them this year. Josh Pate has already said that he's like they are a potential dark horse to win the ACC. He's really high on them. People are predicting they could even make the playoff.
Yeah.
I already told you that their odds are great, but I think a large part of that is that there is a lot of variability of how this season can go for them, and I see a future a la Doctor Strange where they come out on top in the ACC somehow, which is why I think that's the odds are there, and I think the odds are good for them to win the ACC, but I don't see it personally. I look back at last season, I think the team was kind of better. I don't think Haynes King is going to improve over this year to last. You guys might disagree. Jamal Haynes might improve a little, but you still lost. Like Eric Singleton was terrific for them last year.
One of the best receivers in the portal.
And he goes off to Georgia. The recruiting class was good this year, which is huge for Georgia Tech, given the academic standard that is that university. And there's only 6 transfers starting, but they still lost games they're not necessarily supposed to last year. And I kind of see that in their future again this year. I'm not as high as people are. Some people are.
I'm really glad you said that because I'm like the same way. Going into our ACC prep, all I had in my brain was the Josh Pate and the people who are high on Georgia Tech. And so I came in expecting to kind of be blown away by like a really talented dark horse team. And they're good, and they can get to 7-8 wins again, but it did not strike me as what everyone was trying to hype up. So I do agree with you 100%. I'm glad to hear you say that. Jack, can you disagree so me and JP can be against you? Or are you going to agree with
I
us?
kind of agree. Looking at their schedule last year.
I can disagree. I can change my take.
They didn't really – they lost a couple games they shouldn't have, and they didn't really win any of the bigger games against they beat Miami. But, I don't know. They just – looking at their schedule last year, they lost some games they shouldn't have lost. They kept some games close, but they didn't end up winning them. And the Eric Singleton loss is huge. So I want to point out 2 players, if you'll scroll back that way, that will have to produce and have to be good to replace that. Eric Rivers is a wide receiver transferring from Florida International. He had 1,100 yards and 12 TDs there last year. So he's going to need to make the jump to a higher level of competition and keep producing. And then Brett Seither is a tight end who was hurt last year, but they have a lot of hype is building around him there, and they hope he's someone that can kind of be a security blanket for Haynes King. They're both going to have to play well to replace the production from Eric Singleton, because I know I've already said it's more of a ground and pound type offense, but when you get behind in games or when you still have to be able to throw the ball in key moments and people have to get open, so you have to look for them to fill that void. Win total, a 7.5. What are y'all thinking?
I'm going to go under.
I'm taking the over, and I think over is one of my favorite bets. Yeah, it kind of disregards what I say or what I said, but I think it's the schedule. Only having to play Clemson, and that's really the only true competition from your own conference, helps them a ton. I fully expect them to win the game at Colorado.
Agreed.
And then outside of that, they play, really one other tough team the rest of the year, Clemson, until they play the Georgia game.
I mean, it depends on how you
And
feel about
so-
Duke and Syracuse because they both had 9 wins last year.
Sure. I think even still, you have to get to 6, or you have to get to 5 losses to go under that. I think 8 wins is completely in their future. I think they'll clean up a few things here. Haynes King health holds a lot in that, and probably that's why that line is where it's at. But I expect them to get to 8 to 9 wins. I just don't think they're the cream of the crop that people are saying they are right now. But 8 wins, I think, is the floor for them, honestly.
Yeah, I'm also going to take the over. I completely agree with everything you said, JP. It's a great way to put it. I think they can clean up kind of the teams they shouldn't have lost to last year, like a loss to Virginia Tech. I think they can kind of clean that up and take those losses off their resume and find a way to get to 8-9 wins. But I don't really see.
Yeah, I don't want to dog on Georgia. Like, I've got them going under, but I will say this: with the recruiting class they just had, they could, in a world, they could go 7-5. Win a bowl game, have another really good recruiting class in the ACC, and then next year, fielding this is a team that is interesting to watch and will be interesting to watch just because of how they played last year and the win over Miami. Because other than that, they didn't have the big wins, but they played Georgia close. Like, it'll be interesting to see this Georgia Tech team. I don't have them being as impressive this year as they were last year, but I'll be interested to see how they look going forward.
Yeah, I appreciate you taking up the Georgia Tech mantle, Tucker, in our stead, because none of us want to have them make the playoffs. And Buster Faulkner is a fire name, so I hope he does great things. But we can move on to the Louisville Cardinals. Louisville Cardinals. They went 9-4 last year. Pretty good season for them under head coach Jeff Brom, who's now been there for a couple years. Once again, they're doing what they've always done under Jeff Brom, which is find a good quarterback in the portal and bring him to start for them. Typically a more pocket passer type. Think Jack Plummer, Tyler Shuck last year. JP's Tyler Shuck. Do you want to give a little who dat?
Start Tyler Shuck.
Okay. Wow, that's a change in tune.
Did he just throw a pick six?
He played.
against
Yeah,
my Los
did you
Angeles
watch
Chargers?
another play after that?
No.
You didn't watch the game, did you?
No.
Yeah, exactly.
I was too busy doing podcast prep.
Yeah, Twitter watchers of football don't know ball, so we got to pick that up. If you don't mind. Especially your own team. You
Yeah,
couldn't
that-
even
that's
tell
a-
me
I
the
don't.
most
I'm not
impactful
watching
Charger
anyone
today.
play preseason. I'm not watching anyone play preseason. My
Personally-
mother could have made the team as a free agent, as an undrafted free agent. And I would not watch
Well,
the preseason
that's
game.
pretty disrespectful.
I thought most
I'm
impactful,
really sorry, Mama. I would not watch you play preseason football.
most impactful Charger today was Keenan Allen, and he didn't play a single snap.
You see DJ's ball?
Did
He threw like
play?
a 70-yard touchdown pass or something like that.
DJ?
Yeah.
When? Today?
Yeah.
I didn't.
I
keep
believe
Probably,
track
so.
of
no,
the
you need to watch
game.
more football on Twitter, dude.
It was like after you got here and we started
Okay, exactly.
getting going. Not that really matters, but back to the topic. So Miller Moss is here to lead the offense after a down year for him at USC compared to his 2023 season where he was very, very good. So he jumped ship there. He ended up getting benched in one of the late games there and comes here. And I think he can do great things. And Jeff Brom's offense, it's been this well-oiled machine for the past couple years, just a great passing attack, putting up big numbers. And I think he's someone that can continue that trend. And, JP, I know you're high on him too, so why don't you speak on him a little bit?
Miller?
Yeah.
I like Miller. I like his talent a ton. I think he is good enough that leaving the Lincoln Riley system, it won't matter to him. I think that's a fear for players that have played in that program and played with Lincoln Riley, that outside of that, are they really as good as they are? I think the same thing could be said about Lane Kiffin with his quarterbacks. Like, that is a quarterback-friendly offense for quarterback-friendly numbers. I think Miller's better than that, and I think he'll have success here because he's going to a program, like you said, Jack, that does well bringing in transfer quarterbacks, having them lead the program, and then being competitive across multiple seasons. Last year, 9-4. 2 years ago, they're in the ACC championship game with Jack Plummer. Like, this is not a bad program by any means. They're not viewed as highly as they really should be. And I expect Miller to play well for Louisville this year. They're my third best team. I think they're third in terms of odds to make the ACC championship game too. I just see they play some tough games this year, and I mean they play 3 of those top 4 teams really in the conference this year.
Sure.
But I expect Miller to play really well this year, and I'm really high on him as a quarterback. I think he's even got a chance to build his draft stock this year, and it's a huge year for him. He's on the PFF board for quarterbacks. He's the last quarterback on the list for them right now out of I think 10 or 12. But he's got a chance to really build a case this year if he can take Louisville somewhere, and we'll see if it can happen for him.
Yeah, going back to like the offense at USC and it being a Lincoln Riley offense that's friendly to quarterbacks. Strangely enough, this past year it seemed like there was tension between what the offense wanted to do and Miller Moss. I don't know the reason. It could have been on Miller Moss completely, but I'm personally happy he got out of that situation. I think it was time to move on and get to somewhere else where he can go back to producing how he did early in his career. Other guys to look out for real quick. First off, y'all are state guys. How do y'all feel about McKylan Pounders? does not really grade out very well.
Yeah,
But
no, I was not.
he's here to start
Yep,
for this team.
Not. If I were a Louisville fan, I think I'd be a little worried. I was not super impressed with him at State. I believe he was a transfer in. Was he the guy that came from Memphis? And there was some hype around him as far as much hype as you can generate for like a 3-star, but at State. So there was some hype around him, and was just not super impressive.
I do think there is something to be said when the whole line is terrible. It
Yeah,
can be hard to
that
play
is true.
well.
That is true.
So he could take a jump, but he was not impressive last year. I agree.
Tucker, as Tucker said, bum.
Yeah, that may be a little hard. We'll see. And then Chris Bell and Colin Lacey are the kind of the dynamic receivers there. It's a great pair. I think it's perfect for Miller Moss. That alone right there is like, cool, this offense is going to keep producing as it has the past couple years. Which brings me to my final question for these guys is, JP, you've already mentioned they went 10-4 in 2023 and then 9-4 this past year. Both really good seasons, right? I mean, Louisville has to be very happy with that. But is that kind of the ceiling, or do they have this like legitimate reason to be excited to like break that cap, make the playoffs, stuff like that?
I don't think it can happen this season.
Yeah.
I just don't think it can. You played at Miami, hosting Clemson, and at SMU. Those are 3 tough games. I think Kentucky's going to give them a better showing this year than last year. They dominated Kentucky. Shout out Harris in that game at Kentucky last year. But there are tough games all across the schedule. JMU could very easily upset them in week 2, but playing at Miami is not easy. At Virginia Tech, I expect that's going to have a really good chance to be a night game for Virginia Tech, and that's no easy place to win, especially at night. So I think the ceiling is having another competitive year like they have had the past 2 years. And I think there's a floor that is much further below that.
Sure.
Given how difficult their schedule is for an ACC team, having to play 3 of the top 4 in terms of odds to win the conference this year. So
It also the scheduling of the schedule is really tough. They have a bye in week 7 and then finish the season with 7 straight games, and I would say their 4 hardest opponents are in that stretch, and then 3 of them are weeks 12 through 14 in the season. So it just does not shape up well down that back half. You kind of go, you don't get a break, and you play your hardest opponent. So
Sure.
do you want to get into over-under?
Yeah, real quick, I will say there is a great chance they start 6-0, or a pretty good chance they start 6-0.
Very good chance they start 6-0.
Which is exciting for them, and they really need to hope to take advantage of that before it gets really hard down the back stretch.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree that they should just enjoy their competitive seasons and enjoy their fun, high-powered offense, and just not get too greedy.
We could see I'm not going to say we see quite an extreme version as what we saw from Pittsburgh last year, but I think Pittsburgh started 6-0 and then lost 6 straight.
7.
yeah, Duke
7 it was.
Duke was kind of in that same spot as well,
Yeah.
starting 5-0.
So we could see them be 6-0 and probably be top 20, like sitting around like 19th, and then lose. I could see them losing 4 or 5 games in that last 7.
Sure. Win totals at 8.5. I'm going to take the under here. It's just a little too high for my liking. I expect them to be an over 500 team. I kind of expect them to hit 8 wins, but I've been taking a lot of overs, and getting to 9 scares me a little bit.
Yeah, they won. I'll take the under. They won 8 games in the regular season last year. I don't really see them winning more than that this year, so I'll take the under.
I'm taking the over personally. I think starting 6-0, only having to go 3-3 down the stretch is, I think, going to be
It's doable.
for them.
You'll be favored in 4 of those games, quite
they'll
possibly.
start 5-0, and then they'll play at Miami. But to go 4-3 down the stretch, I
5-0,
think
not
is
6-0.
definitely possible for them. I don't expect them to lose every single game against those teams that they play. I expect them to lose at Clemson or hosting Clemson, but I don't expect them to potentially lose at SMU. They should win hosting Kentucky. I know they feel that way in-house as well. And then who knows what Miami this year. And then Virginia Tech, Boston College, and Cal could be just as bad as they were last year. So I think they'll get to 9-3. But like I said, I think 9-3 is the ceiling. So I'll just say I'm predicting them to hit their ceiling at 9-3 this year.
Cool. I love it. I think their fans will be very happy with that. And speaking of, we don't know what we're going to get from Miami. They're the next team in the alphabetical order that we are working through. The Miami Hurricanes went 10-3 last year, had one of the best offenses in the country, led by Cam Ward, who ended up going first overall. So he's a huge loss for them, including other big losses. They lost their top 6 weapons from last year, pass catching wise. So they're looking to replace a lot, and like every other team, they went to the portal for that. They're looking to start 9 transfers. So a new look Miami team. Biggest question: how do y'all view Carson Beck? Do you think Carson Beck is someone that can come in, start playing like a good quarterback again, lead this team to another double-digit win season, or is he going to be more of the same Carson Beck from last year?
I can go first. In my notes next to Carson Beck, I put about 8 question marks because I don't really know what to do with him. His numbers have never been even close to Cam Ward's numbers, and so, but then there's also the part of me that's like, but he played in the SEC, so that's different than playing in the ACC. I just kept bouncing back and forth, and I couldn't make up my mind about whether I thought that he was going to put up 40 touchdowns and 8 interceptions, or if he was going to put up 24 touchdowns and 12 interceptions. Like, I could not figure it out. I'm not super excited about the weapons that he has there, and I think that we've seen Beck at his best when he has an elite weapon like he did with Brock Bowers. That's what it's 8 question marks. I really don't know what to do. My expectations for him, I think I'm gonna lean towards lower than like if I'm on the lower end of the expectations for Carson Beck, I think is the best way to say it.
You're like 40th percentile.
Yeah. I don't want to say below. I think he will be a below average quarterback, but on the spectrum of people's expectations for him, I am below average on that spectrum.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really see him being a below average quarterback.
No, I'm not. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, I don't either.
Okay, gotcha.
I'm saying I don't I am below average on the expectations for him. Does that make sense?
Yes, I'm tracking now.
Okay, cool. I see him being an above average quarterback.
JP, I see a thought for me.
I think he got confused. I think I confused everyone. My apologies.
I think the biggest thing is the people this year are going to compare him to Cam Ward.
Unfair.
And so unfair. Even with Carson Beck being potentially the number 1 overall pick in last year's draft, going into last season, I still think it's unfair to expect anything compared to what Cam Ward did last year when he broke school records and national records as the quarterback in Miami. But I think he's going to be good. I think Miami is in the ACC championship for me. They are going to play the Clemson Tigers in the ACC championship. I have a lot of faith in Mario Cristobal and how this team will perform. Their biggest thing last year was they could not stop anyone. If you go down their games from last year, they gave up over a 3-week period. You gave up 34, 38, 45 and win all of those games. You give up 42 and lose to Syracuse. You give up, even in the bowl game, 42 to Iowa State, losing essentially a New Year's Six bowl game and the Pop-Tarts Bowl. It should be. That needs to go in the New Year's Six Bowl.
I'll sign that petition.
But they could not stop anyone. So defensively, they're going to have to be so much better this year for me to be right in that prediction of having them in the ACC championship. But I think the big thing, people might react to that and say, "Oh, that's crazy. You're going to have them in the ACC championship. They have to play Florida. They have to play Notre Dame." Yeah,
doesn't matter.
They're not in the ACC. That has nothing to do with them.
They got to play Bethune-Cookman.
Reaching the ACC championship. And in fact, if you look at their ACC games, they avoid Clemson. They avoid Georgia Tech. They're going to be in a good spot here. They get to host Louisville. At SMU might be tough, but in reality, there's not really a necessarily super tough ACC game there. And because of that, I think they're going to go. I think there'll be one loss in the ACC, and reach the ACC championship for me this year. They don't have to win win Notre Dame or Florida, and I think they'll split one of those. They're going to win one of those games. Just given the questions at quarterback for Notre Dame, and then
getting them week 1's really nice in that regard as well.
Florida is really viewed really highly, but Florida very easily could lose that game with Sunbelt Billy Napier. So I expect them to be in the ACC championship game. I expect Carson to play really well, coming off a breakup. But more importantly, I think health will be a good factor there. If he's healthy this year, which the signs are good.
Yeah.
The notes and the stories are good so far from camp. So I expect him to play well this year. But comparing him to Cam Ward, which much of the media is going to do and even the general public all year, is just completely unfair to him and to how he succeeds this year.
You will not be happy with this play if you look to compare him to Cam Ward.
Yeah.
It's a great point. The defense couldn't stop anyone last year, and I think that's really what has to improve this year. I expect the offense to still be pretty good, but it probably won't be at the level it was last year with Cam Ward, and so you're not going to win all these barn burners. It's going to have to tighten up. A couple key players defensively, I think that could help that. Ruben Bain off the edge is a very highly touted NFL prospect. He had 3.5 sacks last year and 23 tackles. And then they bring in Xavier Lucas, a corner from Wisconsin, who had 12 solo tackles last year and a pick. They could look to help the defense improve because it's going to need to. And then additionally, they were 120th in the nation last year in penalty yards. So great teams. They're not in the bottom 5th in that category. They're not in the bottom 20 in that category. You will lose games if you have that many penalty yards. They need to look to clean that up. Finally, I just want to give him a shout-out. Bert Auburn, thank you for selling Texas that game last year, or trying to. It was glorious, but he's the first special teams player to make the list. He transfers from Texas to be their kicker. So
Probably the only special teams player that will make this list.
I don't know. It's just funny. Like I'm looking at their depth chart, and this guy pops up, and I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
I know that name. He transferred.
I have a lot of. Oh, go ahead.
No, you have a lot of thoughts.
I have a lot of questions
Oh.
about wide receivers.
Sure.
They lost their top 6 weapons from last year. They have 2 starters projected to transfer, 1 guy from in-house. Between the 3 of them, they had less than 1,000 yards receiving last year, which I keep banging the table about this. Like, if you're bringing in transfer wide receivers, I'm of the opinion that either they need to be like 5 stars who rode the bench and are redshirting, or put up like 1,200 yards and like 8 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Like, if you're Miami. Now, if you're Miami and you're going to get wide receivers to compete to be a playoff team, they need to be those high-profile guys. These 2 guys, or the 3 guys they're starting, combined for less than 1,000 yards. That's just very underwhelming, in my opinion. So that's one of my other concerns for Carson Beck is the weapons he'll be throwing to do not impress me. I will say this. I'm really interested to see what – this might be the most talented team in the ACC.
Exactly what I was about to say.
At least it is from a recruiting profile. They have finished first in the high school recruiting every year in the ACC for the last 3 years. So first out of 14 and 23, first out of 17, first out of 17. They have the number 1 transfer portal class in the ACC this year. This team is very talented.
I mean, yeah.
And I thought I was actually going to pick them to win the ACC, but it is the offense that concerns me. I just don't know what the offense is going to look like with the transfers in Carson Beck and then the wide receiver room.
Yeah, I mean, it's a small worry, but the reason I'm not too concerned and I expect them to field a pretty good offense again is the talent you've just talked about and their ability to bring guys in. I don't think they're the most talented team in the ACC. I'd give that to Clemson because I think Clemson's scouting and development is better. So just because you're first in the rankings doesn't
Right.
actually mean you brought in the most talented
When
class. And I know you know that, but by the rankings, they're the most talented team over the past couple years. But yeah, I think the talent will play here and it'll get the job done. Do we want to look to that win total?
Over under 9.5.
9.5. It's a bit of a scary one considering the game against Notre Dame in Florida out of conference before you even look in conference. I'm going to take the under. I'm going to take the under here. I don't know if I feel confident picking this team to win double-digit games.
Yeah, I think I'm also going to lean under. I thought I was about to pick the over, but I'm in my head. I think I'm Notre Dame. I think Notre Dame and Florida is probably 2 losses, and you still have Florida State. You still have at SMU. SMU was in the conference championship game last year. They may not be as good as they were last year, but that could still be a challenging game. I don't see this team getting double. I think that they're going to drop 3 wins or 3 games.
JP's taking the over.
No, I
Wow.
think they're going to go under as well, but finish 9-3 and make the ACC championship game.
Yeah, I think that's totally fair.
I think that's a good prediction. And
I
now
mean, they're going to do what Clemson did last year. They're going to lose because Clemson lost to Georgia and South Carolina and then performed well in the ACC, lost one ACC game, I guess. So I could see Miami doing the same, lose to Notre Dame, lose to Florida. Maybe you lose at Florida State, or you lose maybe to Louisville, but you drop an ACC game and still make the ACC championship and still could make the playoffs.
Yeah. I think that's very fair. That's our Miami Hurricanes preview. NC State is the next team on the list. They went 6-7 last year under head coach Dave Doran. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that last name right. I apologize to you, Dave, if I'm not. But anyway, last year was a bit of an interesting one because they bring in Grayson McCall, the former Coastal Carolina QB, and then he gets concussed and medically retires, which throws true freshman C.J. Bailey into the mix at QB for the rest of the season, where he finished with 2,400 passing yards, a 65% completion percentage, and a 17-10 touchdown to interception ratio. All in all, pretty solid numbers from a kid that wasn't projected to start and that was very young, wet behind the ears, all of that. So I think that's a pretty key piece right off rip. I've talked about quarterbacks a ton, labeled them the key pieces. I mean, they're just so important to teams and their success year in and year out. So how does he develop? Does he take another step forward from that freshman year that was solid? This is the first time since 2022 they've had an in-house option return. They've looked to the transfer portal for guys like Britton Armstrong, Grayson McCall previously. So, again, this is the first time they're bringing a guy back, and they can kind of build on what they saw from him last year. The other key piece of their team, they were 14th in total defense in the ACC last year. Didn't really bring in a bunch of transfers to fix that. I guess they're banking on in-house improvements to hopefully shore that up, which is a bit worrying, but that's what we're going to look to see. Other key pieces of this team, tight end Justin Jolly is going to be probably the best target for C.J. Bailey to look for. Had 43 receptions and 661 yards last year with 4 TDs. And then Hollywood Smothers in the backfield, great name, by the way, had 571 yards and 6 TDs. So those will kind of be the biggest pieces, in my opinion, helping out C.J. Bailey as he continues to grow. Defensively, some guys that are going to need to play well for them to improve their defense. Brandon Cleveland at nose tackle had 3.5 tackles for loss and 36 tackles last year. And then Sean Brown, probably the best player in their defense at linebacker, 96 total tackles last year and 3 sacks. Thoughts on this team as they go into 2025? Thoughts on C.J. Bailey? He's not a name I was really familiar with going into this, but, do y'all have any thoughts on him? If not, that's fine. Because, like I said, I was like, he's their
not
starting
really
quarterback.
any thoughts. But I'm low on NC State.
Ryan Finley is still the quarterback there in my head.
No. But, yeah, I'm low on NC State. I had them losing week 1 to Eastern Carolina.
Okay.
Is that crazy?
No.
No, because I'm also very low on this team.
Okay, cool.
I think, that's bold. That is
it's
bold.
bold?
That's not crazy. I think that's fair on the spectrum.
Sanders, who they play in the bowl game, if you don't mind?
Eastern Carolina, and they lost.
Eastern
Yeah,
Carolina.
exactly. I have them losing that game again to Eastern Carolina, the Pirates. I'm high on Mike Wright and the Eastern Carolina Pirates this year, but
That is wild.
I'm low on this team, and I think they'll be low as an ACC team. And I think Bailey just needs another year of development. So he'll get that by losing a ton of games this year.
Sure.
And maybe he'll be improved going to next year, but I don't have a huge amount of faith in this NC State team. Seeing a drop in the recruiting rankings, of course, doesn't help. This is a program that feels like they should be among the best in the ACC, and that just didn't play out last year with the unexpected loss of Grayson McCall. But I don't think they're going to play very well this year, and the schedule doesn't help them either. They play tough games. They play tough teams. Notre Dame on the schedule, Miami on the schedule, Georgia Tech on the schedule. Campbell, former Atlantic Sun Campbell.
The Camels.
The Campbells, Kennesaw State rival.
Wow.
Back in NCAA 2008 college basketball. But I'm not high on the team.
I'm not either.
I'll quit yapping.
That's probably the most either of us are going to say.
I think,
any of us are going to say
pretty
about NC
well
State.
put. I think we're both on the same page. All three of us probably on the same page. I think Bailey could even have a solid year, and it just won't really matter because of what's around him. And I don't really, even if the defense gets better, I don't expect it to become above average unit. And also, I think the other teams that were kind of around the 5-6 win mark last season got better, or at least I trust them more to win games. So I'm taking the under here at 6.5. I'll go and lob the win total out. I'm taking the under at 6.5.
Under.
Yeah, under. I mean, they won 6 games last year. You trade Tennessee for Notre Dame. It just, I'm gonna stick under.
It's just a scary. I don't think they'll be downright awful. I will say that in their defense.
No, I mean, but they could go 500
Correct.
and still
Correct.
hit the under.
It was all doom and gloom, so I was just throwing out I'm a sunshine pumper.
We believe in you, NC State.
Moving on to their
North Carolina.
in-state rival, North Carolina, one of the more interesting teams in the ACC this year. Why? Because they brought in Bill Belichick, who is now coaching for the first time in college football, trying to get North Carolina back to their winning ways, kind of. I mean, they've never really been this fantastic program. But anyway, good excitement there. You got to think there's good buy-in from the staff and the donor base to bring in a guy like Bill Belichick and try and turn this into a winner. And he came in and immediately hit the ground running in the transfer portal. They're projected to start 13 transfers. Probably most importantly, Gio Lopez transferred from South Alabama. He's going to start at QB for them. He threw for 2,500 yards last year with 17 touchdowns and 5 picks and ran for 540 yards and 7 TDs. So he's a bit of a dual threat guy. JP, you mentioned him earlier as kind of a guy you're excited to see. So what are your thoughts on Gio Lopez?
I'm really high on Gio. I think he's a really fun player. And I have watched Gio play. One of Abby's brother used to coach for South Alabama. Was an assistant coach, not a coach.
The head coach.
Yeah, was an assistant coach there. And so we'll watch USA games from time to time. We also, one of her best friends goes to South Alabama as well. So I watched Gio Lopez play last year, and I also played against him in the video game. He's good in the video game too. Not that that matters, but I think he's going to be a key piece for North Carolina. North Carolina, for me, I think is going to have a really good season. I think the schedule pans out that way. And for them to even fight how they did last year, to crawl out 6 wins, when in the first game of the season you lose your quarterback for the entire season.
Former
Max
Aggie.
Johnson.
Gig 'em.
And yet they still crawled out a win against Minnesota somehow. Winning Charlotte, North Carolina Central aren't great wins. They get destroyed by JMU, but JMU's good. But even to win a few games down the stretch in Virginia, Florida State, and Wake Forest, I thought showed a lot about the guys in this program. And while there are a lot of transfers this year with Bill Belichick, it's a good base to build off of. He's not coming into a team was downright terrible, even though the season went bad for them. I think Gio's going to play really well for them. I'll be very curious to see how he plays with Bill. Of course, Bill, we've only really seen Tom Brady and Mac Jones. Gio Lopez is not Tom Brady or Mac Jones from a playing style. He may not even be from a talent style.
But that's college football
either.
for you. It's just different game.
So I'm really curious to see how he plays and coaches Gio Lopez, how Gio Lopez plays, not Bill, and how Bill coaches.
I would love to see how Bill plays.
But defensively, I think it's going to be the story of the team, and that is the story of any Bill team.
Sure.
And with the 9 transfers they have, it'll be really interesting to see how they play as a unit. I think that's the unit that leads. They're the engine of this team, I would say.
Yeah.
Is the defense for
Yeah.
me.
I know you have a bit of a different take on this team or different outlook than JP.
Yeah.
And you've laid out their 9 starting transfers on defense, and do you want to at least walk through a couple of them why you're maybe not so high on this team?
Yeah.
Or at least some concerns or worries you have?
I think so. I'm going to start on the D line. The D line, I think, is pretty it's pretty concerning. I'm not going to mince words. They've got 3 guys who they did not start for their teams last year. 2 of them, I will say, came off the bench at Penn State and Florida. So that is something. Those were 2 high talent teams. So that is of benefit to them. But their PFF grades were lower. Smith Vilbert played for Penn State last year, never started, finished with a 64.9 PFF grade. DeAndre Robinson played for Florida last year, finished the season with a 58.9 grade. And then the thing you could convince me could be interesting will be the secondary. So they bring in a guy from East Carolina, who I know JP's very high on, And then
Go
a guy
Pirates.
from Washington who both finished with good PFF grades, a safety and a cornerback. I will be interested to see what will the secondary look like. But yeah, I'm just not. It's not like they brought in a bunch of high performance guys or a bunch of high talent guys. In my opinion.
Let me push back on that.
Go ahead.
Patriots defenses never had the highly talented guys.
Yeah.
They always had names that made names out of them, that because Bill put them in the spot and coached them the right way, that they became names even though they weren't the big talents. And that's true for really any Patriots player ever. So I don't think that's necessarily a concern that it is. Now, flip it on its head. These kids are as young as his girlfriend, so who knows
Younger.
I was about to say it's different.
how it'll play. You could not combine any three guys from this roster, and they would not have more years living on this earth than Bill himself. So
Yeah.
I'll be curious to see how that plays out as well.
Yeah.
But I don't think that is a pushback from a football perspective. If that's the way you're trying to put it, as of, okay, they don't have the talent, I don't think that necessarily matters, and that it hasn't mattered for Bill teams. I think it's more of a, how will he coach them? Can he get out of them the things that he's gotten out of players in his past that didn't necessarily have all the talent, but he got the most out of them? And I think that is the concern more than the talent itself.
Because it's different, in my opinion. It's different when you're working with 28-year-olds as opposed to 18-year-olds. So I'll be interested to see how that plays out. Can he get that same peak performance out of these younger guys, guys just out of high school, or even the transfers? 22. It's just a different game in college. And I don't remember my last point, Jack.
Well, I was just going to say, I think it's fair for it to be a worry, while also looking at it the sense of, if there's someone, like JP said multiple times, that can find a way to make it work, it is Bill. In my eyes, I think this kind of goes one of two ways, honestly. I think we see that Bill doesn't have it anymore, and this just goes nowhere and flames out pretty fast, or we're pretty quickly in year one going, okay, he's still got it. He has these guys playing good football, even if maybe they don't, win a ton of games, but like they're competing. They're playing sound football. They're not making mistakes. They're making it hard on teams. So I'm very interested to see which way it goes. Any other thoughts?
Yeah. I know, JP, you're talking about how much you like the quarterback, Gio Lopez. Is there a possibility where Max Johnson comes back from injury and then we start to have a discussion about the quarterback? And that'll be dependent on how Gio is playing at the time, I'm sure. But Max Johnson was supposed to be the starter last year, goes down in game one. What are your thoughts on Max Johnson and his potential return from injury?
No, I think Gio Lopez is going to be the guy all year unless this goes south. I just don't see it as something that Bill would change. I think the biggest thing for them and the Tar Heels this season is just going to be consistency and continuity, and changing the quarterback, I think, would change a large part of that. And you also don't know what you're going to get out of Max Johnson, who has not played since last August. And then whenever he returns, I don't know what the reports are, but there probably isn't any because it's college football and you don't get any of those reports.
Correct.
But it would be a year and potentially a half since he had played, a year and 4 months.
Because he also got hurt during the A&M, his last season at A&M.
Exactly.
So he didn't play a full year then either.
I don't think you're guaranteed for him to have good production. And I think Gio's better than him in general anyway.
Yeah, I don't think it's... I think Max Johnson's a fine QB, but I don't think he's good enough since the fact he's been hurt for a year to really come back and push for that job. Unless something goes south, like you said, and then I don't really think Max Johnson's good enough to fix a situation that's gone south.
Yeah.
Though he probably will get the chance to. Win total? We want to look at the win total?
Is 7.5. I can go first. This schedule, once again, I feel like it's just a dumb layout of a schedule. They start the season with 4 games. They go bye week, Clemson, bye week, 7 straight games. I don't understand the setup. I will say that it does benefit them. They get an extra week of preparation for Clemson and then an extra week of rest afterwards. So you can silver lining that situation and try and isolate that Clemson game to give yourself the best chance of winning. But some other important games, it's actually a pretty easy schedule. Other than that Clemson game, they avoid Miami, they avoid Georgia Tech, they avoid Florida State, Louisville, SMU. It's a very easy schedule. So other than the way it's laid out, in that their bye weeks are almost wasted because you have to play so many games on the back half of the schedule. But I'm going to go over, I think, even though I am lower on the talent and question Bill Belichick as a college coach, the schedule is a cakewalk.
Yeah, I'm gonna take the over too. I'm gonna just, I guess, trust in Bill. There's a lot of winnable games on this schedule, and I think he's a guy that can get this group playing good enough football to win those games. So I'll take the over.
I'm going over, and I think it's one of the best bets I could give you is going over. I think they've got a chance to go 10-2. And that's just I'm high on Bill. I'm high on he's going to be the best coach on the field in realistically every game except for the Tiger game this year. And I think that'll play a huge factor in the way these games kind of finish out. And then I'm really high on Gio. I think they've got a chance to make the ACC championship because of the schedule, but I think they'll lose 2 or more in the ACC. But give me the over.
Yeah, I like it. Moving on,
Pittsburgh.
the Pittsburgh Panthers went 7-6 last year, which doesn't really tell the full story as they started off 7-0 and then lost 6 straight to end the season. Very disappointing year when you look at it like that. Losing 6 games in the season against the teams they did. Look at Virginia, even like a Boston College on the schedule. I know there's Clemson, Louisville, and SMU in there, but like to not even find one is just pretty disappointing. It's opened up questions for this year. For example, is Eli Holstein the guy at QB? Was all right last year, threw for 2,200 yards, 17 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, but was really bad on third down. His passing grade per PFF was under 30 on third down, and he also had an over 5% turnover worthy play rate. So just did not protect the football very well, was not good on third down, and those are 2 crucial things for QBs. So he's going to really need to look to improve. Additionally, they were not great defensively. They allowed 223 opposing yards per game, which is 81st in the nation, which is around average. It's not terrible, but with how good their front 7 was and how bad their linebacker core was, it's pretty disappointing. And their linebacker core comes back. Braylon Lovelace, Rasheem Biles, Kyle Lewis, probably one of the best linebacker cores in the nation. They combined for 236 tackles last year, and they're all coming back. Their front 7 should be good again. It's just, can the secondary play better? Can they improve the defense? How does Eli Holstein look? And then the last guy I want to point out, Desmond Reed at running back is probably the best offensive player they have. Rushed for 960 yards and 5 TDs last year, and then added on 579 receiving yards and a couple touchdowns there as well. Thoughts on Eli Holstein, JP, or Sanders?
He's fine.
I think that's the perfect way to describe him.
I don't know if he gets in the top half of the ACC from a quarterback talent perspective, but he's fine. Nothing pops off the page, which surprises me for a quarterback that committed to this era of Alabama, and then transferred over to Pitt. But he's fine. I think it was just it's a disappointing end to a season where you start 7-0. I know people in our poll ratings had him. I would assume someone had him in the top 10 when they were 7-0. I would reasonably predict that.
I actually don't. Let me go double check.
And that is probably what the general perception was as well, because that is kind of how college football works. Of you are what your record says you are, and I'm guilty of that too. I know I probably had Pitt in the top 15 at some point.
Just depends on how you want to do your rankings, as a resume thing or power rating thing.
Yeah, it's just disappointing into the season to lose 6 in a row, including a 6 overtime loss to Toledo in a bowl game. It was disappointing to the season. I'm not high on them this year either, though.
Yeah, going back to the Eli Holstein thing, he was not at all helped by his O-line. They gave up 43 sacks and over 100 tackles for loss last season. Just really poor as a unit. They're going to have to look to improve there. Ryan Bayer is a guy that they're looking at tackle to kind of develop and help.
Week 10, I had them 14th.
Cool.
Did someone have in the top 10?
I can keep looking. I was looking at mine.
Sanders was talking earlier about how he was high on them when they were 7-0, which is fair because they were 7-0. But yeah, the offensive line is going to have to get better because Eli Holstein's not a guy that's going to be good enough to play well under pressure and make tough throws and move around in a pocket that's collapsing, get outside the pocket and make plays like that. I'm not very high on them either. I'll go and say that right now. Any thoughts, Sanders, before we move on to win total?
I have been trying to find this, so I haven't. No thoughts.
Cool.
Sorry, trying to find this.
I'll move on to the win total. Then it's sitting at 6.5.
Under.
I'm also going to take the under. I think they're going to be the most disappointing team in the ACC this year.
It looks like no one had them in the top 10.
Cool.
We avoided that. Someone had them at 11.
Okay.
So
Who was that?
Who
Can
was
we get
that? Hobbit Snock?
it was not Hobart Snock.
If it's not a name you don't want to say, that's fine.
It's one of my friends from church.
See
Charles?
No,
Okay, cool.
he only ranked like one time. So
Gotcha. But yeah,
I will go. What did y'all both win under?
We both went under. I think they're going to win 4 games.
4 games.
Yeah.
I've got to win them one.
You're kidding.
I'm kidding.
Okay.
He just had a Trump
It's
meme.
possible, though. The Duquesne's a win, but Central Michigan, the Chippewas,
Yeah.
it's a tough program up there.
I think JP, can we get a breakdown of why the over/under feels like at 6.5? Like, does that feel high?
I think it feels just right for them, honestly, and where they've been as a program the past couple of years.
I'm going to go under.
I think
As
things are
a
going to break their way this year.
Semi-professional sports gambler, this is a line that's there because of public perception, not necessarily because of football talent. And a lot of these lines are like that, is just public perception. How many games does our book have them favored in? Plays a part in that as well. And so that's why you see lines like this, where 6.5 is a line where you look at it and you're like, okay, well, it's hard to bet the over, but it's hard to also kind of bet the under, given the way that they played last season. And so the goal with a line like this is for nobody to put any money on it, because the line it's just right there. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, maybe I'll go bet on Clemson.
Yeah.
So that is why this line is there. While the line, I think for all three of us, we would say the under should be a lock here. It kind of feels that way, just given the talent that they have in house.
Sure. So we're all on the under here?
Yep, we are.
We can move on then.
I just want to say real quick, bruh, opening up this spreadsheet, I miss it. I'm ready for college football. I'm ready to start doing rankings and stuff again.
Yeah.
Seeing all of the rankings, and it's just beautiful.
We have to pretty soon. They start play.
Yeah. My website
Are we
is,
doing a week 0 rankings?
I mean, that's like a preseason.
I don't think we ever have.
No, typically I break out a preseason ranking,
But-
and then I don't adjust it week 0.
Yeah, games are in less than 2 weeks. So
Yeah, the website should be ready to go, and people will be able to go in and fill out their ballots.
We'll plug that when it's ready.
Yeah, I will have it ready before the start of the season. I don't know when that will be.
Cool.
Stanford,
Stanford,
It's actually SMU.
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 The Mustangs. SMU had a good season last year, went 11-3 under head coach Rhett Lashley. However, they do lose a good bit. They lose Brashard Smith out of the backfield as well as their top 2 receivers in terms of receiving yards. So tough there. But they do return their quarterback, Kevin Jennings, who had a great season last year. 3,200 passing yards, 23 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. You'd like to see that number drop a little bit. And then 345 rushing yards, so he can do it with his legs a little bit too. Where would you rank him roughly in the ACC in terms of quarterbacks?
Oh, in terms of quarterbacks, I think he would struggle to be in my top 3, but
Okay.
I think he would comfortably be in my top 5. Cade's up there. Carson Beck is up there. And for me, personally, I've got Darian Mensah at number 3.
Okay.
But I think he's right there at 4 with Haynes King and Miller Moss fighting for that 5th spot. He's good. 3,200 yards is super productive for a quarterback in college football, and he did that last year. Losing the weapons, like you said, is going to hurt them a ton. I'm hoping for them that, like, kind of the fallout of the year doesn't hurt this program and their success, because it was a surprisingly successful year. And then you lose kind of a devastating way to Clemson, and then you go into the Penn State game, and if that was played on a neutral site, maybe that's more competitive.
Yeah.
But to play that in sub-zero weather and suboptimal conditions, and to have to play the defense that was Penn State at their house. I just never thought they were ever going to be competitive in that game. And so I'm hoping their fallout isn't anything too massive from that, because it's a program, like, for this program to be good, it helps the rest of the ACC. 100%. For a non-marquee program to make a splash and to make the playoff, it helps the ACC. Think of the Big Ten, it's no different. Indiana making the playoff last year helps the Big Ten, because now you tune into Indiana games, and because of that, people are going to tune into Illinois games this year, because they're right there on that fence of, oh, they could be kind of up there in the Big Ten.
This year's Indiana.
Yeah, and so SMU it's huge for this ACC and the future of the ACC, for them to be good. And so for me, I hope they continue to be good, because I enjoy Clemson being in the ACC and kind of having a nice path to the playoff. And you can kind of harp on that all you want, but we've beaten Alabama twice in a national championship, so go to hell. I apologize. That was a little rough. But I will say, SMU being good is good for the conference, and I hope they continue to be good this year. And I think they are going to be good, honestly. I think their win total isn't there, or at least we haven't revealed it yet, but I think they'll go over their win total.
Okay.
They've got some tough games there on the schedule. Like, nothing's guaranteed here, but I think they're going to be good this year with Kevin Jennings returning. Quarterback play is it's a large part of college football.
Huge. It's been like my first point on almost all these previews for a reason.
Exactly. So I think Kevin Jennings returning and Rhett Lashley also still being the head coach at SMU is key as well. He is another one of those names that could jump ship, especially off a playoff season like that. So him returning as well will help the Mustangs this year.
We lost camera real quick, so Sanders is going to go to fix that.
Yeah, keep going.
Yeah, we talked about how they're losing a lot of weapons. Guys look to replace them. Jordan Hudson at wide receiver is the leading returning wide receiver in terms of pass or receiving yards. He had 4. Sorry, Sanders just tried to stand up with his headset still on and kind of got jerked back. But no, he had 422 receiving yards and 5 touchdowns last year. And then another guy to look at is, I can't see, I think it's R.J. Maryland at tight end. Started off last season pretty well and then got hurt and missed a big chunk of time. But they're high on him. I think he'll be very productive. They expect him to be very productive now that he's healthy. And I'll go ahead while Sanders fixing the camera. Unless you want me to wait, Sanders, and kind of slow it down. Okay. I think their secondary especially, but their defense as a whole is going to be a ton of fun to watch. Isaac Nwokobia, I apologize if I said that name wrong, is kind of your standard strong safety. Had 100 total tackles and 3 picks last year with a 91.8. Phone's dead? Tough. Okay, we're going to take a big pause then.
No, we can roll without camera.
Keep rolling SMU, and then we can take a pause in between.
Okay. Yeah, Isaiah Nwokobia, 100 total tackles, 3 picks last year. Has had a 91.8 PFF grade the past couple years. He's very good. Ahmad Moore is their second safety, is also very, very good. Deuce Harmon is a cornerback for them, had 20 solo tackles and a pick last year. Shouted him out. He's a former Aggie. Gig 'em, Deuce Harmon. And then Cameron Robinson and Isaiah Smith are their defensive ends, who combined for 10.5 combined sacks last year. So I expect their defense to be good again, probably even a little better than last year with these guys potentially improving. And I think it could help stave off a fall back to the norm, because maybe their offense isn't quite as productive as it was last year. Going into their win total's at 8.5. JP, you've already said you're going to go over for your reasoning. I am going to go.
It's a good line.
It's a good line. I'm going to trust on them to have a good defense, and I'll take 9 wins. So I'm going to take the over there. Sanders, over under 8.5 wins.
I will under. I had a thought. Oh, yeah. My thought is I would love for them to go over that and make the ACC. All right. Dream scenario, we see ACC championship then versus North Carolina, because then Tucker pointed out we get to see Jordan Hudson as a wide receiver against Bill Belichick. I think that would be so funny. I really wish they put each other in the preseason, because I'm sure the jokes and the memes that would come from that would be so funny.
Yeah. That's very fair. It's not the it's not the easiest schedule, to be honest, for them. They have to play Clemson, Miami, and Louisville.
And they scheduled 2 tough out-of-conference games with
Correct.
Baylor and TCU.
So that worries me a little bit for the over, but I'm going to trust what they're building there and just, continue the momentum and take the over.
So
That was a kind of
Yeah.
a hectic.
I'm just going to end the video there. My phone died, but I just plugged it into my super fast charger. I don't know how. It's never come close to dying before. So I'm not sure what went on that led to it dying.
Was it? I don't know.
Do we want to give it like...
Do you want a phone?
Yeah.
Oh, wait, your phone. We've used your phone before.
Yeah, but we used the other app.
Oh.
So we
I
can see if the frame rate issues exist. It wasn't an issue when we used my phone last time.
You're going to have to get the other app because of the way it's all set up.
Okay.
If you can do that for me.
Yeah. What's the other app called? Yeah, just do it. It'll be way easier. Dude, how am I going to look stuff up? Like I've done it this show.
Oh, shoot. I almost knocked my table over.
I'll go and just keep talking about SMU, because why not? Something that I think is very crucial for SMU is they have a pretty good donor base.
All the video editors around the world just cried a little bit.
Confirm with the side button.
Oh, I thought it was going to make me... Oh,
No.
well, now I just turned it off.
Man, Sanders is cooking. But yeah, SMU has a good donor base, and I think they'll be able to draw in a lot of money, which is crucial in this era of college football, which is another reason, even if maybe they don't hit 9-10 wins this year, that they'll continue on an upward trajectory and be a good team in the ACC for the next at least couple years. So, JP,
Are you all out of SMU now?
how's it going?
I'm probably Jack.
It's going
I'm
good.
not gonna
Right now
clip
I'm
that
just
into the
thinking
SMU
about,
video. That'd be way too much work.
Yeah, I know. But I just there's 2 people watching. I had to give them something to listen
I'm
to.
thinking about Stompin's play yesterday.
That's very fair. I'm enjoying my
Can we
lemon
get that on
flavored
camera?
PC.
Can we get that on the screen, the Stompin play from yesterday?
We might as well.
Yeah, is anything holding us back from that?
No, I mean, we're just waiting around here. Bro, we get to talk about Stanford next. Of course, we get cut off right before the most interesting team in the ACC.
There's
Do
that
y'all wanna
weird
know
use of the word interesting again.
What ACC's win or Stanford's win total is?
I don't know, so I'm going to wait for the blind reveal.
Yeah. It's pretty special.
Yeah, I'm not clicking on it.
Do you want to give a
yet.
guess?
Well, the way you framed it would say it's 2.5.
I won't tell you yes or no.
Okay. There's 2.5 for a Power 4 school is not a good look.
No. Y'all know what is cool, though? 13-44-10. Don't you dare steal that, Tucker.
Countdown. We're 4 minutes and 30 seconds from restarting the episode entirely.
Dude, look at us go.
All right, Stanford.
Improvise.
Is that a
adapt,
strike?
Overcome.
Yeah.
Bro, I just saved the day. How is that a strike?
I saved the day.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, you kind of saved the day.
Strike 17.
We can move on to Stanford.
All right, I can't see the win
JP,
total.
how does it
Can
feel
I
to be
look?
batting like very low? You're batting what, like 500?
I'm
batting
would
like
like
900.
to add that most of my TikToks have the highest like percentage
True.
in the history of our channel. So
True.
He did a good Rage Bait Raiders one, though. That one did pretty well. It wasn't Rage Bait,
There's
So he
my
claims
mouse
it
is
was
so
rage
far
bait.
away.
so he claims. I got you, Coach.
You want to grab my water bottle while you're over there?
Frick, bro. What a needy guy.
I literally could have gotten it so... All right, preach. Who are we doing?
Stanford,
Man, this show just went off the rails.
I wish. Home stretch here, boys. Lock in.
Only 5 left? 1, 2. Yeah, 5 left.
I've
We're
been
cooking.
dialed, too. So this is a tough roadblock.
Stanford, Jack, this is your team.
This is my team. Interim head coach Frank. Can someone pronounce that last name
Reich.
for me? Right.
Frank Reich.
Has joined as the interim head coach in the spring after Andrew Luck, as Tucker has pointed out in the chat, is now the GM of this program announced. However, my first key point I wrote down, man, this is bad. Because from a talent standpoint and a player standpoint, it's not looking great. When guys like David Bailey, who transferred to Texas Tech, transfer out, any of their good players just leave, it's really hard to gain any momentum and put out good football teams from year to year. At quarterback, looking to start Elijah Brown, who Played in 3 games last year and threw for 274 yards with a 58% completion percentage and 2 touchdowns to 3 picks. Small sample size, wasn't necessarily great. Micah Ford is their starting running back, had 309 yards last year. Colin Wright is probably the best player on their team. He's a cornerback, had 32 solo tackles and 3 picks last year with a 72.4 coverage grade according to PFF. Want to look at a transfer to maybe find is to help out Elijah Brown. C.J. Williams is a wide receiver transferring from Wisconsin. He had 248 yards and 2 touchdowns there last year. I don't know, guys. It's just not a very talented team. They just hemorrhage guys in the portal and aren't competitive enough NIL-wise to bring them back. I do wonder also if the academic standard of the university holds them back. Thoughts on this team, though, overall?
Under.
Yeah, it's bad. I'm assuming JP made that note that they are underdogs to Hawaii.
Oh, I did that actually because I thought that was really interesting. They are
is-
underdogs at Hawaii. Thank you, because I would have been really sad to miss that out because I thought it was like kind of
that
crazy.
It's a tough look when you're a P4 team and you are underdogs to Hawaii. So that's
At Hawaii,
At Hawaii, so
minus
give-
1.5. Hawaii's
give them
favorite.
the 3 points.
So
And it's also just kind of sad. I mean, you talk about hemorrhaging talent. Their 2024 class was 6th in the ACC, so
Sure.
it's not even atrocious. I don't really know. It's just it is rough. And you mentioned they lost 27 guys.
I didn't mention the total number, but
Yeah.
27 guys. Starting QB left, like starting running back left.
They did not beat a single team on their schedule this year, last year,
Nice. That's not a great look.
including San Jose State.
Yeah, it's just. I mean, they lost 27 players. They can't keep anyone good in house. My one question I'll throw out, and then we'll go to over/under, is can Elijah Brown show enough to prove he can be the long-term guy at Stanford? I don't have the answer for you. Tune into the games. We'll find out this year if he's something they can build around, because he is young. And that lied. One last thing I want to point out, because I think it's kind of interesting. Their quarterbacks had more carries than their running backs last year, so I wonder if that's going to be something that holds true this year or not.
Wow.
But, yikes. This team has become a stepping stone program.
Yeah.
And it's kind of sad for what it used to be for it to be here currently. The win total is 3.5. Are you actually taking the under, JP?
Yeah.
I'm also taking the under.
Same.
Good work, team.
How many games are they winning? None?
3.
3? I think I might pick them to go 0-12.
They're not going to 12.
They'll win 2. I'll go 2.
Not with Frank Reich.
Maybe. Tucker, to give a little more content for Stanford, let's answer Tucker's question. Do we trust Andrew Luck to hire a coach when the season ends? He became GM and fired the coach a few months later. Who is signing up for that job?
I don't know who's signing up for that job unless Andrew Luck being back there, he can find a way to get the donors in the athletic department to cough up more money.
And he is the guy for that job.
Yeah, to entice a guy, maybe he can then take that and turn it around to be like, look, you come here, we'll up your NIL commitment, stuff like that, and maybe find a guy foolish enough to leave a coordinator position to go try his luck as a head coach. But I would be very nervous taking that job because I think it could be kind of a career ender.
I don't think it matters. I think Andrew Luck firing the head coach is because he wants to get the right guy.
Yeah.
And he appoints Frank Wright just to handle this season so he can find that. Whoever he picks, he picked. And that's the main storyline there.
Sure.
So I don't think there should be any nerves for that head coach coming in. Because Andrew Luck is a Stanford grad. He knows how it is right now. He knows how down in
That's
the dumps
why
this
he
program
went to
is
take the
here.
job.
And he knows how good it can be. So I think whoever he brings in, he has faith in building this program and improving Stanford. But I don't think it's necessarily a worry for whoever he brings in. Also, I get the point, though, that maybe someone might not want to play for him, but I'd want to coach for Andrew Luck, personally. Maybe that's kind of crazy, but who wouldn't want to coach for that? Because in reality, like I said, he's firing the coach because that's not the coach he wants. He's the GM. He gets to make that choice. He's a first-time GM, and he is going to learn throughout this process, but it's his choice. And it's not like the coach before then was doing very well.
Sure.
So there's not really an argument for him to keep him there. So I don't think it holds any impact on the program itself.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't have kept their previous coach either. I just don't know if they're going to bring in this guy that's really all that good. Slash, just because you're Andrew Luck's guy from the start, a couple bad seasons, he may sour on you.
Jim Harbaugh.
I was going to throw out Jimbo Fisher. He's announced he wants to get back into coaching. I don't know. I don't actually think it. It'd just be funny if that was the case. We can move on. Good question, though, Tucker. Syracuse Orange had a very good season under Fran Brown last year. Kyle McCord transferred in and kind of lit the world on fire there in terms of statistics. Just a very, very pass-happy offense. They threw on 60% of plays last year under offensive coordinator Jeff Nixon, which was the highest in the country. So just full air raid. But he's gone, and they brought in 2 QBs. I believe Steve Angeli will start. Transfer from Notre Dame, saw limited playing time last year. He's more of a pocket passer. The other option is Ricky Collins, who was named the starter in spring, and then 2 weeks later, Steve Angeli transferred in. So that's kind of why I think Angeli's going to start. Collins probably has the higher upside. He's a little more toolsy. But Angeli's more of a sure thing, and as a pocket passer, he can kind of operate this Jeff Nixon offense. My first question is simply that. Who starts at QB? Who would you start at QB?
I'm starting Ricky, personally. I think he's better than Steve. And I just think he's got a better chance to win you more games. I think that's what matters to Fran Brown right now. And he's made that clear in how he felt with the transfers leaving last year and then just trying to put himself out there in the national media. Like, he wants to win games at Syracuse. He's not coaching there just to coach. So I think he's going to choose Ricky to be the starter once again and stick to that. And I think they'll start Ricky this year.
Sure.
And I think Ricky's going to give him a better chance to win as well than Steve would. Will they win? Probably not. But I think Fran, like, he wants to be in a spot to where, like, he could potentially jump from this program to an SEC or a Big Ten school. He's going to have to win games to do that.
Agreed. I personally think Angeli will start. I'm not really sure if that's the right pick or not, but I think we'll see both quarterbacks play at some point this year. A couple other transfers to look at non-quarterback positions. Jonte Cook is transferring in technically from Washington, even though he spent 2 weeks there before getting dismissed from the team for missing workouts. He was at Texas, though, actually for the 2024 season, where he had a couple touchdowns and 137 receiving yards. Very talented guy, has just kind of had off-the-field issues, so we'll see if he can right the ship there. And then David Reese, the 7th-year transfer from Cal on the defensive end, had 22 tackles and 4.5 sacks there last year. That's all I got. I guess after a 10-win season this year, kind of touched on it, JP, people were like, well, it'd be a successful season for Syracuse this year.
Bowl eligibility.
That's what I was literally going to say. 6 wins is successful with this schedule.
Actually, scroll down because I have more notes, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, bowl eligibility is very successful considering the guys that they lost. Saints legend, Fadil Diggs. But Kyle McCord.
Aggie legend, Fadil Diggs. Gig 'em.
Also true. But also losing Kyle McCord, who is the 3rd best quarterback in last year's draft, according to some people on this table.
QB4.
Was it 4?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's right. I just, like Sanders said, the schedule, brutal. At Georgia Tech, at SMU, at Clemson, at Miami, at Notre Dame. Neutral site game against Tennessee. They don't even host that game. That game's in North Carolina for the Duke Mayo Classic. Unfortunately, Fran Brown will be getting 0 mayonnaise poured on him this year in that game. So bowl eligibility would be a successful season for them. And that reflects that in the win total as well.
Go ahead.
If you beat UConn, Colgate, Boston College, and then you get a win like Pittsburgh, that's 4 wins, and now you have to get 2 wins against those teams you just rattled off. You say you beat Duke, you still need 1 more against like the best teams in the ACC and Notre Dame. That'd be crazy. That would be a very large success.
Having Notre Dame and Tennessee out of conference is really rough. Scroll back down real quick because I think this is exactly why bowl eligibility would be a success. You mentioned they lost Fadil Diggs. They lost Kyle McCord. They lost LaQuint Allen, who was a 1,000-yard rusher last season. They lose Jackson Meeks, who was a 1,000-yard receiver last season, and Oronde Gadsden, who went to the NFL. They lost the most production in the ACC. So it's huge losses, and since Fran Brown is so new to the program, he's not built something that can sustain anything like this. So a bowl game would be a big success. Their over-under reflects that at 5.5. Draw the over-under.
Under.
Yeah, I think I'm going to have to go with the under. I do want to, I'm about to try and use a big word, postulate something. Is that the right?
I couldn't tell you. Just
Never
go.
heard of that word.
Dude,
my
hold up,
entire
hold up.
life.
Maybe not. Maybe that's not the right word.
I'm going to have to look that
You've
one
used
up.
it now, so
yeah,
roll
well,
with it.
I'm going to pretend it means what I think it means.
You maybe pulled a JP.
Yeah, I may have. What would you think about this team against last year's schedule? Because this year's schedule is very tough, but I think the over-under at 5.5 is indicative of the schedule and not entirely the team. So if you saw this team going against last year's schedule, would you be feeling more, would it be more promising? Maybe they get to 9 wins?
No,
I'd pick them to make a bowl, but I want to pick them to hit 9 wins. I think Kyle McCord, with how productive he was last year, I know he had a bad game here and there, and he turned the ball over a little bit. But he threw for so many passing yards, and I just don't see Stephen Gelly or Ricky Collins coming anywhere close to that production because also the weapons are worse. It's not solely on them. But, yeah, they'd probably make a bowl with last year's schedule, but they would not hit 9-10 wins.
Okay.
Postulate would have worked if you had suggested that last year's schedule, they would do well with this team on last year's schedule instead of proposing a question.
Dang, I was close.
Yeah.
Propose would have been a much better word. Postulate means to suggest or assume the existence, fact, or truth of something as a basis for reasoning, discussion, or belief.
So if I had said, I postulate that they could have gotten 9 wins last year with this team.
It's more so used in the third person, as in
I don't know how to speak in the third
Sanders
person.
postulated that Syracuse would do well on last year's schedule.
All
with
right.
this
Well done.
team.
Challenge for Wednesday's episode is I'm going to use the words postulate correctly.
I'll give it
In
a
the
rating
show.
out of 1 through 10 on how good I think your usage of it was.
Okay. I will try to remember to do that.
Cool.
Let's keep moving.
Yep, 3 teams left.
Virginia.
My Virginia Cavaliers went 5-7 last year under head coach Tony Elliott, and the pressure is really on Tony Elliott to finally get this ball rolling, get this team to a bowl that they've missed out the past couple years. And they know that, and they want to hit the transfer portal hard. They're looking to start 10 transfers. Most important is Chandler Morris at QB, transferring in from North Texas, where he threw for 3,700 yards, but did have some turnover issues, threw 12 picks to go along with 31 touchdowns and had 4 rushing TDs. He also didn't have a great end to the season, was really hot to start the year and then cooled off. So hopefully that cold play doesn't continue into this year, but they're really relying on him to improve a QB position there that has not been great recently, which a lot of it's been on the O-line. The O-line has not been good there the past couple years. Other key pieces to look at, especially in the secondary, Antonio Clary and Devin Neal, a transfer from Louisville, are a great duo. Clary is coming off an ACL tear, but he's a traditional box safety that they've had there the past couple years. They've kind of been a box safety factory, honestly. Your New Orleans Saint, Jonas Senker, is someone that played at UVA. Actually went to the high school my brother goes to. So shout out the Covenant Eagles.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Crazy.
He's going to be a dog this year.
Yeah, I'm excited to watch him play. But I think their secondary duo will be good again. Trell Harris started off last year hot at wide receiver before getting hurt. He's back. Cameron Courtney's another wide receiver that they're going to need to take a year or two leap in the slot. What really I think is the hinge thing for this team, they're not the most talented group. You can look at their recruiting rankings. 13 out of 14, 2023. 15 out of 17, 2024. 13 out of 17, 2025. But this transfer class, which has some older guys, combined with the experience already on the team, they're looking to start 15 seniors and grad players. So a very old group. Can that carry, combined with the fact they don't play Clemson, Miami, Georgia Tech, or SMU? So a pretty weak schedule for the ACC. Can the experience combined with the weak schedule be enough to get them into bowl contention? Because that's really what matters for this team is, can we make a bowl? Can we get back to just bowl eligibility? That's pretty huge. Thoughts on that?
I think it's going to happen. I think they're going to win 8 games this year. I'm really high on Chandler Morris. He came from an air raid kind of scheme at North Texas, so the numbers are there for that reason. But also, I mean, we've seen firsthand at Mississippi State, just because you come from an air raid system doesn't necessarily mean that you're just going to put up good numbers. You still got to have some talent. You still have to deliver the football to positions, and I think Chandler's going to do that for the Cavaliers this season. And like you said, Jack, the schedule is a huge part of it, and the pressure is a big factor. I think pressure makes diamonds, and hopefully for the Cavaliers' sake, they can find some diamonds in the rough this year and really kind of make a splash in the ACC. And 8 wins would be that for them this year. And I kind of expect them to do that, and I'm predicting them to do that as well. It's another one where it's just, I think the quarterback play is just going to be better this year with Chandler Morris, and I think it helps them a ton.
They also, I talked about the O-line being bad, and they overhauled it in the offseason, which is going to, I mean, they overhauled it, so we're going to see if it's good or not. But Brady Wilson's going to be a key piece at center. He's transferring in from UAB, where he was good last year. But if the offensive line can improve, I agree that Chandler Morris can have a really good year. And I agree that they can make a bowl game, which leads me to the over-under of the team, which is 6.5. So the over-under is actually expecting a bowl game, kind of, by that number. But I'm going to take the over, get to 7 wins, maybe even 8. JP's apparently higher on them than I am, and I'm a Cavaliers guy. So I'm taking the over. Sanders?
Yeah, I think I will also go over here.
Yeah.
Their schedule, avoiding all those good ACC teams, does help them out a lot, so I'm going to go over.
Tucker is apparently not as high. He thinks it's more likely that Jamie Chadwell's UVA's coach after this year than Tony Elliott. I know he's not had great success there, but I really do think the players love Tony Elliott. I think he's a people's guy. Comes from Clemson, I believe. Was the OC at Clemson?
Mm-hmm.
So I think they can rally around him and keep him around for maybe a couple more years, even if I don't see sustained success happening at UVA under him.
Hope it doesn't happen for their sake. That'd be all 3 of their major sport head coaches gone within 2 years. So
yeah, some staples as well. I mean, I know Tony Elliott's not a staple, but they don't have the money to be doing that much of an overhaul.
Agreed.
Cool.
Did you pick the over-under, GP?
8-4.
Okay.
Yeah, he has the over.
Cool.
Moving on to their rivals.
I'm excited for this Virginia Tech team for one guy.
The Virginia Tech Hokies. Hold off on it for a second. I'll get you there. You can talk about them. But they went 6-7 last year under head coach Brent Pry, and like in-state counterpart Tony Elliott, he's feeling the heat. Even more so than Virginia. Virginia Tech's a pretty, storied football program. They have some pride, and to see the program in this spot, they're not happy with it. He really needs a bounce-back season, a turnaround season to, stick around. Key players for them, Kyron Drones is coming back at quarterback. A very, very much a mixed bag. 1,500 yards passing, 10 touchdowns, 6 picks last year, and then 419 rushing yards and 6 touchdowns on the ground. He's a guy that one play will knock your socks off, and then the next it's like, what in the world are you doing? I can't believe you just did that.
He made the 40 worst plays of 2024 college football season
He
video.
did. And it was a glorious bad play.
Yeah.
So, thoughts on Kyron Drones?
Well, I think, bad last season. He just wasn't good enough.
Yeah.
And Virginia Tech was not good enough either. They had laid the groundwork, both in-house and in the media, that this was going to be an elite team last year. They're favored going into the Vanderbilt game. They lose that kind of in a brutal way in overtime. Beat Marshall, beat Old Dominion, 2 Sunbelt schools, but then lose hosting Rutgers, which didn't make a lot of sense. But then people were like, oh, Rutgers is actually kind of good. But they're not. They're Rutgers. And then you lose devastating fashion on a Friday night where you complete the Hail Mary, or the reverse of that, right? Miami completes the Hail Mary, and
But it was like a weird, everyone thought the Virginia guy had it.
Yeah,
and they overturned it.
It was like the Monday Night Football Packers Seahawks kind of deal, and you lose that in a devastating fashion to Miami. You win 3 games in a row from there, but there was just a tough stretch down the end, losing to Syracuse, Clemson, and Duke. Not good enough from Kyron Jones, especially from a numbers perspective. He was viewed very highly going into the last season, and it kind of surprises me that he even gets to return and start at quarterback.
I agreed.
This year for Brent Pry and Virginia Tech. It surprised me that they weren't able to land somebody in the portal to potentially compete with that. But it feels like that was an in-house decision more than it was a no one wanted to come there.
Completely agree.
decision.
They doubled down and said he's our guy.
So they're gonna have to live up to that. Brent Pry is gonna have to live up to that. He's set the bar high on himself. He has laid his own table, and it could be his own demise as well. And they've got big games again on the schedule this year that they need to go out there and win. South Carolina, Vanderbilt, and then going to Tech, and then hosting Miami and Louisville later on in the season are big games for them. They've got to win some of these games. They need to be good this year. Otherwise, it's Brent Pry could easily, very quickly be on the hot seat after last season where the expectations were so high. It's insane to see how quickly that is flipped. I feel bad for the Hokie fans while you cheer for a mascot that is something that doesn't exist in real life. It feels bad for them. My best friend growing up was a Hokie as well, so I feel bad for him as well.
Sure. I have some friends that go to that school. I don't really feel bad for them.
They need to be better for the sport's sake too. That place with Enter Sandman and being a premier place to host games, like it's good for the sport, it's good for the program, it's good for the ACC.
It'd be great for the ACC.
Yeah, it's on my bucket list of places to see.
Yeah. Sanders, you talk about your boy real quick, and then we can get into over-under.
My guy, Terrion Stewart, not Terrion Arnold, that's an NFL player. Terrion Stewart. I'm going to pull up a photo of him real quick because I didn't want to put, and if you are listening, you should also pull up a photo of him. I did not add it to the video because I feel like the quality is just not good enough. JP, look at this guy. Can you see that guy?
Yeah, he just looks like a guy.
Can you guess his dimensions looking at this photo?
I know he's 5'9".
Yeah, he's 5'9", 223 pounds, I think. Do you know? So you saw in his 4 years of college, he's played 4 years at Bowling Green. He's played 70-plus snaps every year, so he has played time. Do you know how many receptions he has had in his college career where he's been the starter for the majority of the past 2 seasons?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, well, all right, it's 5. It's 5. The dude does not catch passes. I think he's been targeted 6 times in his collegiate career, and that, like I said, that's with playing a lot of snaps every year. He's just brought in to just run the ball, and he does that well. He's averaged over 5.5 yards per carry every year of his grade, and had a PFF run grade of 94 in 2023. So this is a guy who I saw that photo of him, and he's just a tank. I'm really excited to see what he looks like. He averaged 6.1 yards per carry in 2023, had 8 touchdowns. It's going to be interesting. I'm excited to see what he can do.
Sure.
He reminds me a lot of Josh Robinson. Do you remember that? You remember him, JP? What? Bro, he was our running back in 2014. Wow. Okay. All right. Fake Mississippi State fan, I guess.
I can attest, as they played A&M, he is a pretty tough guy to tackle. But yeah, I guess if you're going to tune in this team, look out for him. Look out for Kyron Drones, and then look out for their pass rush. It should be pretty good, especially since Sam Seifkes. Anyone want to take a gander at that last name? Seifkes. Seifkes?
I'm not even going to try.
I'm going to take the over.
Cool. Yeah, Sam Seifkes is their new defensive coordinator coming from the NFL ranks to try and help things out here. Their win total 6.5. JP's taking the over. You're banking on Kyron Drones, just as they are.
2 SEC opponents, both at home.
Not both at home. South Carolina game is a neutral site.
Oh, okay, cool.
I'm taking the under. I think it's a rivalry game. It's always crucial for these programs, especially this year with 2 coaches fighting for their jobs. Week 14, they go to Virginia, and that very well could be a must-win game for Brent Pry and could be a must-win game for Tony Elliott, so I can't wait for that one. But I'm going to take the under at 6.5.
I think I'm also going to go over. What is does the rivalry have a name? What's it called?
Couldn't tell you.
Wow.
Virginia
so now I'm
versus
sitting
Virginia
next to a
Tech.
fake Mississippi State
It's like
fan and a fake Virginia
like the
fan.
Commonwealth
That's
Cup or
wild.
something.
And you've picked the Broncos to win the AFC West. So
Yeah. Tucker, I'm jealous that you're going to Virginia Tech this year.
That's crazy.
He's going to Virginia Tech Vandy week 2.
That's
so
awesome.
Should be a fun game.
I'll be
in
busy
theory.
that week.
You will be at a Georgia Tech game, will you not?
No, I'll be here
Oh,
for the Arizona State game.
true. Yeah, Tucker, I can't believe you're not coming to Starkville for that one. Come on. And you call yourself a State fan.
Wake Forest.
Yeah,
Everybody's
the
fake.
last team, Wake Forest went 4-8 last year. Jake Dickert is coming in to try and fix this program. They're looking to start 12 transfers. So as he came in, he hit the portal hard to find new starters. No one will be more important than Robbie Ashford transferring in from South Carolina to get another chance to start at a Power 4 school. He was the backup there last year, very fast, not much of a passer. Scroll down a little bit, please, Sanders. Dickert's offensive MO is a strong passing attack, which is why I think it's a little interesting they bring in Robbie Ashford to lead that, because I already mentioned he's not much of a passer. In his 1 year where he started a bunch, he completed 49.2% of his passes at Auburn. So just really not great. Now, that was a couple years ago, so maybe we've seen progression. But thoughts on Robbie Ashford's ability to lead a passing attack? Or do you think they'll pivot and just try and play to his strengths?
Well, video game him can lead a passing attack.
Okay.
He threw for 450 yards and 5 touchdowns against me in a dynasty game this year as the Wake Forest quarterback. But in real life, I don't expect it at all.
Me either.
Robbie Ashford is the perfect quarterback to have for a 2-quarterback team, being the running threat.
Yeah.
Because he is super talented at that. But him as a passer, I don't see it. And odds makers don't see it either. They are tied for the same odds to win the ACC as Stanford.
Yeah.
So that's not a good look for Wake Forest and the Demon Deacons. And Robbie Ashford is probably a large part of that because of his lack of ability to throw the football. It's something I fear for quarterbacks that are just too run dependent. If they don't have any version of a passing game, how well can they really be?
Doesn't matter if you're really fast.
Yeah, think of Nate Johnson with his years at Vanderbilt. Think of Mike Wright even.
Yeah.
Not to put him on that pedestal. Devin Dampier is something that it fears me with Utah and that team this year.
Sure.
Although he's shown more passing ability than Robbie. I don't expect the Demon Deacons to be good because I just don't expect Robbie to be good for this team, although he is a name because he played for Auburn and South Carolina so far. So I think that's the only part that makes him a topic of discussion.
Yeah.
It's just because he played at these schools before.
Sure.
That doesn't necessarily mean the talent is there.
Yeah. Their defense also isn't great either. Opponents completed 70.3% of their passes against them last year, which was second worst in the FBS. Do y'all want to take a guess who is the worst team in that metric in
I've
the
already
FBS?
guessed. You're overthinking it, JP.
What was the stat again?
Allowed 70.3% completion percentage against opponents. Who was the worst? That was the second worst.
The Mississippi State Bulldogs.
Indeed, at 70.4% allowed. So pretty bad. Y'all can attest that State's defense wasn't good last year.
Swiss cheese.
Wake Forest wasn't either. And they don't necessarily bring in a ton of talent to fix that. If the best player on this team, in my opinion, is Damon Claiborne out of the backfield, rushed for over 1,000 yards last
He's
year
a
and 11
dog.
touchdowns. He's very, very good. So maybe the passing attack, or not the passing, sorry, the rushing attack is really just that potent. But I don't really expect their defense to get much better. Their best defensive player is Nick Anderson at safety, who had 122 total tackles and 2 interceptions last year. And then from a name standpoint, I want to shout out Karate Brinson. Is transferring in from Tennessee State. He had 963 yards and 6 touchdowns there last year. And he'll have to be an impact player if they have any hopes of being good. But yeah, new coach, bad defense last year, bad offense last year. They're trusting Robbie Ashford to turn this thing around, and the win total's at 4.5. Over or under, JP?
Schubert. I'm going to take the over. I think they'll win 2 ACC games this year, and I expect them to beat, although I love them, the Kennesaw State Owls. And I expect them to beat, although I do like them because one of my travel ball basketball buddies plays tight end there, the Western Carolina Lions or something. I expect them to beat them. And then I expect them to beat, although I do love them, the new Division 1 FBS Delaware.
The Blue Hens.
Blue Hens. I do think they'll get 2 ACC wins this year somewhere. I think Ashford could go off for them. Devin Claiborne can have a good enough game. They have an avenue to win games.
Sure. Or they just go beat Oregon State, then they just got to win one ACC game.
Exactly, and I don't expect them necessarily to do that, but
Sure.
we'll see. But I think they have an avenue with Devin Claiborne and Robbie Ashford of, okay, what if we just run for 500 yards? What are you going to do? So I think it helps them more than it helps. You look at Stanford. Stanford doesn't have an avenue to win games outside of just having better talent than the other team. So I think Wake has a chance to get to 5 wins, and I think they will.
I'm also going to take the over kind of for similar reasons. It's like Claiborne is good enough and Ashford is a good enough runner that if they can just have the damn burst against a couple teams and just run for a couple hundred yards, they can pick up the win, a couple wins there. And it's not like the ACC is so good where there's not going to be teams they can do that against. So I'll take the over, but the over at like 5. I don't really see a bowl game for this team, but
I was leaning under, and then y'all kind of talked me into over, which is the ground game.
lame.
Yeah, fine. I'll go under then.
Perfect.
Why?
Screw y'all. No. I don't know that I trust Robbie Ashford to be able to lead the offense. I don't think we've seen him lead an offense previously. He was not able to really lead that offense at Auburn successfully, so that's why, is lack of trust in him.
But we're
Sure.
in the ACC now.
We are in the ACC now, but you still have to have good quarterback play in the ACC.
Doesn't have good weapons either, I will say.
Yeah.
But with that being said, that is the end of our ACC preview at a whopping 3 hours almost exactly. Thank you all for tuning in. Tucker, special shout out. I hope to see you week 5 for the Tennessee State game. But yeah, thanks for
Not
y'all.
Tennessee. Oh yeah, Tennessee versus State.
Yeah,
not
Tennessee versus State game. Thank
like-
you all for tuning in, and we will see y'all next time on Wednesday for the Big Ten preview. Peace.
See ya.